Sohan on Cunningham. Kicks it back outside of Kinja. Flagler, NBA range. Buries it.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Corral on 2nd and 15 as they're chopping down on his legs, and then they take him down high as well. Ika finished it.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Kendall Brown thought about it, drives it instead. The finger roll, George Gervin style.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Jet motion they go with here with Baldwin. And Baldwin breaks free. And the Bears sick 'em. Monterey Baldwin.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. It is us, Craig and David Smoak, Sikkim 365 Radio. Behind the scenes, Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims. Paul Catalina is out today, and hopefully will be back with us tomorrow. And we will hear from the University of Albany football head coach and Greg Gattuso at 4 o'clock. Why? Well, today Baylor announced a couple of things. One is that their game with Louisiana Tech that was by mutual consent, both teams moving different directions. It was supposed to be an opening game for this year, 2022 football. They had to find somebody, and as Mack told us last week on Sikkim 365 Radio, there was slim pickings. Albany, under Greg Gattuso, will join us at 4 o'clock. That's who Baylor opens with. And today, it's official. At least announcement is official. Dave Aranda signs an extension through 2029. I know, signed that contract back in the last 7-8 days in January, but it's kind of just taken some time for Baylor to announce it officially, and so here we are with that.
Yeah, 2029, and obviously, I've already seen the comments on the board, and, somebody's got to be that guy on Twitter that wants to say, well, it doesn't mean he's going to be there until okay, we get it. Yeah, you're right, but what it does do is it makes that buyout a lot bigger of a buyout, I would imagine. It also secures some of his assistant coaches, and who knows what else is in that deal. Obviously, it was kept very under wraps, and we're never going to know a money figure because Baylor's a private school. So I'm not sure we'll ever really, get our heads around what all was a part of this deal. But it's a sign that, he's just strengthening that bond and that relationship. And doesn't mean that there won't be teams next year if something opens up to try to holler at Dave Aranda, but it's going to make it more difficult to do so and more in Baylor's favor to do so. So they needed to make that move. And I think to have him locked down and looking like he's going to be around for a while, that should only help with recruiting and all other areas of the football program. So, yeah, between all the new buildings going up and the season they had last year and now this announcement, and now that's done. Thankfully, that's done. There's no more questions. Where's the announcement? We got it. And so, yeah, big sigh, not a sigh of relief because I never doubted that he was signed up, but just a nice thing to be able to kind of check off and move on from. And I'm a big fan of his. I think most people are. And, so long as he's the head coach, I'm not going to really worry too much about Baylor football and them being competitive.
Well, he has signed it. He has signed it for quite some time, as we have reported. He agreed to it many months ago, and I say many months ago, back towards the end of the football season, and there was a chance, even back in November, that it was official, and then he and Mack Rhodes, Dave Aranda and Mack Rhodes, have a pretty damn good relationship, and now it's announced and it's finalized. So think about this with the Big 12. Luke Fickell, Cincinnati, he is signed extension with Cincinnati. We do know that others will still try to take a run at him, as they should, just like they would probably and should with Aranda. Dana Holgorsen extension, University of Houston. So 2/4 of the incoming Big 12 teams for 2023 have their coaches tied up, and Baylor has their coach and Dave Aranda tied up as well, and there will be others along the way.
Don't forget Kalani Sitake at BYU signed an extension last September.
Yep.
So he got that done right as the season was getting underway, and then there was the rumors, how involved he might be in some of the jobs that opened up there on the West Coast in particular. But, he had signed that extension with BYU back in September, and, we had talked to him a couple of times. And so, actually 3/4 of the new coaches that will be coming in, whenever they come in, they will be under, newly reworked long-term deals. So, that's good. So I guess the only one would be Malzahn, but he just, basically got there. So no need for him. And he hadn't done enough to warrant an extension at this point. So he's the only one, but he's also new. So that's understandable. And I just hope that when all is said and done that Luke Fickell is there gracing the sidelines of Cincinnati when they open Big 12 play, and Kalani Sitake's at BYU and Dana Holgerson's at Houston and so on and so forth. But I have great confidence that Dave Aranda is going to be around for Baylor for a while. I think he's got a good gig. I think it's a good spot for him. There's not too much of a spotlight, but there is enough of a spotlight to where you're not just sitting in a dark corner winning and nobody's paying attention. They garnered a lot of attention this year, and he in particular did, probably more so than any player on the team or even the team in general. Dave Aranda's name was talked about at length many, many times throughout the year. So, exciting day to have that locked up and done and now official.
And the Albany game is, is official. Opening game of 2022. We'll hear from their coach, Greg Gattuso. He'll join us at 4 o'clock today. Also today, Doug Gottlieb will join us, Fox Sports Radio at 5:15. And then John McClain kind of look back at the Super Bowl weekend, Hall of Fame inductees and all of that back around. And Lovie Smith, the head coach of the Texans, and John McClain spoke with us about him last week. And of course, now it is official. He'll join us. So the University of Albany football team, and again, this is a game that really, there weren't many options. Once Louisiana Tech and Baylor went their separate ways, Mack said it, told us last week, slim pickings. Now, Albany's played FBS competition every year since 2015. Back in 16, they beat Buffalo 22-16. They have had, the last year, they only played 4 games because of shutdowns or whatever else. They were 1-3. They've had a pretty good run. They've beaten teams that have been a part of that FCS picture before, like Stony Brook and a couple of others. So we'll hear from Coach Gattuso and how this all went about. No Mack Rhodes today. This was planned for him not to be available today, but we will get him on as soon as we possibly can. One other note.
That's a game that Baylor should win by 60. I mean, all due respect to Albany, but getting them as late as they did, I don't think they're really in a position where they could kind of gauge a really tough opponent or find one at this stage. So you kind of knew that it was going to be a step down from Louisiana Tech no matter what direction that they went. But, just based on what little we know of Albany at this point and, just being realistic. Baylor should win that game huge, and that should be your typical season opener where you win big and your backups play in the fourth quarter and all of that. That's what I would expect. And, it might not be the most fun game or whatever, but if you're a Baylor fan and you're looking to go to that season opener, there's one of two ways to go. You either have the big marquee opponent and you get all excited like Bama, Clemson or whatever, or you have a team that you're supposed to beat and you get that one win and then you move on to that big BYU game the following week, and we know that they have that one very much on their radar because they brought it up a bunch in passing conversations. So it's like Texas Southern or whoever else that they would typically be playing. Not quite La Tech, though. That would have been interesting to see, especially back-to-back weeks with BYU, but this definitely should work out better in their favor.
So we'll have Coach Gattuso again on at 4 o'clock today. Meanwhile, today, Scott Drew met with the media. We will hear from part of his media presser here in a moment, but it was confirmed, Coach Drew saying that Jonathan Tchamwa had his surgery in fact today, and he also kind of said he'll probably be in the rehab and working out tomorrow morning. It's a sad deal what happened Saturday during that game and win against Texas. So Jonathan Tchamwa had his surgery today. Multiple ligaments is what Baylor described as the injury, and that's not a surprise if you saw the injury at all. And also, they play Baylor at Texas Tech tomorrow night against the Red Raiders and Mark Adams in a team that's really good, that beat Baylor on their home court, that kind of really launched them into the discussion for possibly competing for the Big 12 title because everyone thought it would be Kansas, Baylor, possibly Texas, And here comes Texas Tech, and they have been good. They've had a couple of setbacks along the way, but Texas Tech has Baylor tomorrow night and then on the road to play in Austin against Texas in kind of a rematch of that incredible environment that was in Lubbock just a couple of weeks ago.
Are they already camping out in Austin?
They're camping out in Lubbock for the game against Baylor. Maybe the Texas Tech fans, we know that they got that code and they've got some of the tickets. And Chris Beard last week saying that if you're a University of Texas student and you have the big ticket, whatever that would be, you are going to get in. So that ought to be an interesting environment. And it should be after what Texas played in at Texas Tech when the Red Raiders were just too much for them just a couple of weeks ago.
Well, the Jonathan Chalmachachua news, good to go ahead and get in surgery. I'm glad that whatever swelling or whatever that he had, that needed to be in place for him to go under the knife didn't take too long. Because how sometimes it's like you have to wait a couple weeks or whatever. You hear about guys letting the swelling come down and all that. But, relatively quick turnaround to going under the knife. And I just hate it. I absolutely hate it for him. That was such a bummer on Saturday to, be playing Texas, and that's, not the biggest of games any longer on the schedule. I'd say KU's bigger, and even Texas Tech to a certain extent, just based on the rankings and whatnot. But, it's still a big game, and it's a rivalry you've had kind of control of now here of late, and to get another win in that chapter, it was great, but you couldn't help but be let down afterwards, right? Like you couldn't be excited because of the injury to Chachua. So that was just such a letdown, or not a letdown, but that was just such a downer on Saturday. And I really feel for him. Curious to see, how long it takes him to get back on his feet and get healthy again. And I know he's got another year of eligibility remaining, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I just hate that for him.
By the way, and I agree, Craig, because he was coming off his best win ever. I have, I don't know, Armstrong, has it been on the wide shot? I have this big blue tape around my elbow, and then there's a gauze underneath of it, and I probably have about 30 more minutes of this. I gave blood today. My doctor had told me my blood was too thick. Not bad. It wasn't like any kind of dangerous thing, but that my blood was too thick, and I should give blood. So when I went to the Carter Blood Care, and if you haven't given blood, there's a blood shortage. But I happened to pick a day when there were like 3 people in the waiting room, and every one of those tables or whatever, beds were filled. But I got it done. And when the lady entered my name, the last time I had given blood was not a good experience for me. It was not. 1, I hate needles. 2, I hate the sight of blood. And 3, I think I probably did not have enough water and hydration in my system and probably didn't eat well enough before that either, because you're not supposed to go there on an empty stomach. And I think I passed out, like bad. So today she said, you haven't given blood since 1996, which is shameful because there's a blood shortage. And
Armstrong
so I gave
wasn't
it
even
today.
Born then.
Yeah, that's exactly right. August of 1996 was the last time that I gave blood, and I'm not joking about it. That's true because it was such a bad experience, and I probably just have tried to avoid it. But there is a blood shortage, as you can imagine. When blood care type vehicles, those buses, those places are roaming around gathering blood, they go to schools. And when COVID shut down schools, then where are they going to go? And so if you want to, it's a plug, Carter Blood Care, wherever you go, to give blood because obviously it is absolutely needed. Brandon, love how Baylor is developing coaches, staff as well. The knock on Rhodes, he's not accessible? Not an issue for us. I'll never forget when we interviewed a Missouri writer, good dude, who said that he could never get any kind of anything or any good answers from Mack Rhodes, who was in Missouri during a kind of a tough time. And Mack Rhodes has been on with us probably 48 weeks out of 52 weeks a year. And his access is incredible.
Yeah, I think other outlets have actually tried to almost I don't want to say copy, because it's not like you're the first person to ever interview an athletic director, but I do feel like there are other markets where they've tried to institute something similar. And I think that there are others that desperately wish that they could, desperately wish that they could talk to the athletic director on a regular basis. So I recall when Mack Rhodes was hired, people not in tune with us back then. I mean, which is understandable, but so much stuff was going on. Players leaving left and right, and coaches. It was a mess. It was a mess with the whole scandal. And when they were, trying to figure out what direction they were going to go, I mean, that was part of the hardest waiting process. Was like they need an athletic director. They got to hire an athletic director before they do anything. And when Mack Rhodes was announced, I didn't know much about him. We subsequently would talk to people who had worked alongside him or people who had covered him and heard good things about his time at Houston. But that Missouri stuff was like a whole nother, like he wondered, like, what's going on here and why are they hiring this guy based on what Missouri people were saying? You would have thought it was the worst hire of all time, and it's turned out to be quite the opposite, actually. And they've won a men's basketball national title with him as AD, and they've won a women's title with him as AD, and they've won a Big 12 football title and a Sugar Bowl, and it's been, quite frankly, way more good than it's been bad. And once he got that first couple of years under his belt, and then had the rule change, and then had to go find another football coach just when they felt like they were kind of getting their footing underneath them. And thankfully Dave Aranda provided that footing pretty quickly. And Mack Rhodes, I don't know what the issues were at Missouri, where people felt a certain way, but no complaints over here, and definitely a tale of two cities. On
the YouTube chat room, Stephen Snook opened up, by the way. Stephen texted me. I texted him earlier today. How's your father? Remember, he has been struggling, and he's up and down. Good days and bad days, good days or bad nights, and just praying for Stephen and your father. Aranda, Fickle, Holgerson, new Big 12 coaching salaries are just fine. All good, positive steps forward. And Craig mentioned Kalani Sitake from Brian Etheridge. Welcome, boys and girls. Thank you, Brian, one of the partners of Sikkim 365. Bernie Brown, hello, from the big city of Dayton. You are my favorite entertainment. Dayton, Ohio, home of the Flyers. Home of, I think, Dan Patrick. He might be. No, it may not be Dayton. It might be somewhere in Indiana where he's from. And then Brandon, as I mentioned, on Mack Rhodes, not accessible. That's not been an issue. And Dave Aranda, not very good press conference guy, right? He's grown into a really good press conference guy. And it was the first year hard because, well, it was hard because most everything was on Zoom. But once you started to get a little bit closer and got to see him a little bit more often in person or not, you started to understand that Dave Aranda actually just needs to be someone you watch or listen to more than once or twice before you get him, and maybe you need to even listen to him 8 or 10 times.
Dan Patrick went to Dayton, but he's from Mason, Ohio.
Okay.
I don't know how close those are, but yeah, he did go to University of Dayton. And that is, of course, the sportscaster, not our lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
As far as what you were saying about Dave Aranda, I mean, I'll never forget that first press conference he had, and it was just weird. It was like the second press conference we had been to in 2 years, and another new football coach, and you're just like, okay. And I mean, I knew about Dave Aranda. I knew all about his defenses and everything like that. But as far as a head coach, you didn't really know what to expect. And I'll never forget, I showed up to the press conference. It was at McClain Stadium, and their what would you call it? Like their banquet areas, I guess.
Yeah. It was
like
downstairs.
A dining banquet areas
like
they
near
have.
the Bear Club, or whatever it's called.
So they had that press conference, and I was I didn't have a seat. Everybody had already taken up all the seats, and so there was a lot of standing room only. And I perched myself like up against a wall next to originally not a speaker, but I was perched up against the wall thinking, I'll be able to hear from here. Could not hear a word he said. And it wasn't because of the volume of the mic. It was because he was talking so quietly. Yeah. And I had to move like directly next to a speaker, and I still had a hard time hearing what he was even saying. So maybe there was some audio, but it was also that he was just so meek and quiet. And I don't think, when that press conference ended, I don't think a lot of people really knew what to expect. I think that they were very curious about how this was going to work out, because he certainly did not win them over with personality like Matt Rhule did right away. Like Matt Rhule won over most people with his introductory press conference. Dave Aranda, it took him like a full year to win people over, and all it takes really is winning. But I think it also was a massive part of it was just him opening up and being more of a talkative guy and showing off more of his personality. And now you get these stories, the children's book thing and just various things that have come out of him over the last year that we wouldn't have gotten in year number one. And I think it, endears him to more people, and showing your personality is a good thing, especially when you're as unique as he is. So yeah, it's been amazing to see that journey from the guy I couldn't even hear with a microphone in front of him to, the guy signing now this big contract extension and all that's happened in between. It's pretty cool. It's really cool.
All right, so tonight, Big 12 basketball, Texas plays at Oklahoma, Iowa State at TCU. Last night, Kansas throttled Oklahoma State by 14 to remain atop the Big 12 men's basketball standings. Kansas State, they're climbing themselves into that talk and getting tournament ready. 78-73 over West Virginia. Tomorrow, Baylor plays at Texas Tech. There's a couple of college notes. One of them is from the Horizon. The Conference USA has announced its football schedule. Is that going to be on your off the radar?
No, go ahead.
14-team alignment for the 2022 campaign, and each team playing 8 conference games along with 4 non-league games. It also includes some of the incoming schools, which was something that was interesting because of realignment and how people are bouncing around. Marshall, Southern Miss, and Old Dominion, who say they're going to bolt from the league this summer, it includes them on the schedule. So there's a little bit of that give and take. The Horizon League, I don't know if you saw this or not. Remember, the Horizon League was going to boot out, was it the University of Illinois Chicago? Remember, they weren't allowed to play in postseason tournaments, which hurt the student athletes because they were leaving the conference. Horizon League has changed their mind. Even though they're still pissed at the University of Illinois Chicago, they're going to be able to play in the postseason tournaments after all, after they were told they would not allow them to do it. So there's that as well.
I mean, I think that's a good reversal. I don't understand punishing the players for the school's decisions. I never really understood that, and so I'm glad to see them back away from that. But you're kind of missing on the big news with Conference USA. It's the fact that they've included the schools that are supposed to be leaving.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, but like to put more emphasis on it, like there's no financial penalty for not giving a year's notice. So I don't know what legally they have to hold over these teams' heads to say, no, you have to be here because it says contractually, but yet there's no buyout money from my understanding. So I don't know what penalty they think that they would be giving. I need to know more about the contract. I need to read more from those who do. But just on the surface, if there's no buyout, I don't understand what you have to really hold over their heads. You know what I'm saying? Why would they stay if there's no penalty to pay? I don't get that. So that needs to be cleared up a little bit. And also the fact that Marshall's already come out and said, we don't care what you're saying. We're not going to be here.
Right.
We're not going to be in the league at that point. So Marshall Athletics, aware that Conference USA released its 2022 football schedule, however, saying they stand by their statement on Friday. Marshall's communicated to CUSA will cease participation effective June 30th, 2022. So obviously that's this summer, and they wouldn't be in the league next year to play football. Thundering Herd will not participate in CUSA during 22-23 season. This decision comes after consideration of the best interest of Marshall's student athletes and its loyal fans. First told, and to summarize, they first told the conference in early December 2021 of their desire to not participate after this current academic year. Since then, they've continued to communicate to Conference USA and offered to find an amicable solution to the matter. The conference refuses to discuss a resolution with the university, and so it just basically says that they're grateful for 17 years, and that'll be an important part of their history, but it's time to turn the page. So something's got to give. Like, Conference USA is moving along like, nope, you guys are still here, and you're going to be here, and Marshall, for one, is saying, no, we're not, and we've already told you that.
It's like Conference USA's ask, please don't leave us, or something like that. That's what Papa Blake just put up on the chat room. Southern Miss said they don't care what Conference USA schedule says. See previous release, and we'll also just repeat what Marshall put out. Mike Cole, it's been a while since I've heard someone talk about the Verizon. No, it's the Horizon, right? And that's the one I just mentioned. They were told the teams that wanted to leave were not going to be able to be University of Illinois Chicago, and I think it's Illinois University of Chicago. I hope I didn't get that backwards, but they are in
USC.
fact they are going to be able to play in the conference postseason tournaments the rest of the spring, which they were told not to. And then also, let's see.
Yeah, because they're joining the Missouri Valley, and they said that back in January.
Right.
So UIC is going to the Missouri Valley, and because of that, once they made that announcement, much like all these other conferences have reacted, they tried to ban them from, all the remaining postseason tourneys, and they reversed course today, like you said, so that's good. So UIC will be able to participate, and then they'll, ultimately go off and join the Missouri Valley Conference, and that's where they will be for, the foreseeable future.
All right. Also, from let's see here. Oh, by the way,
but I'm glad the Horizon did that. I'm glad that they reversed course.
No, I don't think, even though they're still pissed at school in Chicago. They by the way, Dayton, Ohio is just right outside of, Mason, Ohio is just outside of Cincinnati. Thanks for someone we mentioned that. Also, Mike Cole, let's see, from Salt to the Earth. Man, we're thinking about you. You diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and you had infusions. You've been gone for a while. We understand, man. We hope you're doing okay.
Yeah, that's tough, and definitely sending positive energy your way as best I can do. If you're in the thoughts and prayers thing, I'll send those as well. But regardless, positive energy and best wishes, and hopefully you're along with the ride for us for quite some time, and enjoy you being a part of our audience.
From ZS77, if Baylor loses tomorrow to Tech, do you think there's still a number 2 seed over Texas Tech? That's going to be interesting. Over Texas Tech,
No.
I think it'll be interesting. It's interesting the way the seeds are played out. Sometimes even head-to-head doesn't matter. So, but if, in my opinion, I cannot be hypocritical here because of 2014 in football. If it comes down to they both have the same resume, and Texas Tech could have that, and Baylor has all those quadrant 1 wins, and if you're doing well in the Big 12, you're going to have even more. If Texas Tech sweeps Baylor and they get a higher seed, I get it.
Well,
it's not like they're 10-10 with 2 wins. They're very, very good.
They'll both be 9-4 if Tech wins tomorrow.
Yeah, but overall, though, their overall resume with their non-conference schedule also comes into play when it comes to all of what you see with those analytics and Lenardi and Ken Palm and all that.
I mean, there's also, you could get to the Big 12 tournament and one team loses in the first round, the other one goes and wins the whole thing. Yep. I mean, that's still in the cards. So, I know Kansas is the betting favorite probably for most people, and they're in the best position right now to seal the deal with 6 games to go. But, when it comes down to that end of the regular season, that conference tournament, things can switch around a little bit. But if Tech beats them tomorrow and they finish relatively the same, I mean, I don't know their non-con schedules off the top of my head. I know Baylor's was very strong, and I'm sure Tech's was pretty strong too. But if you beat them twice, and I think, without splitting hairs too much, that just seems like the nod would go to Tech most likely as far as a higher seeding. But they'll probably be in about the same range regardless.
Baylor has 9 quadrant 1 wins. Kansas and Wisconsin have 8. Auburn, Purdue, Marquette. Iowa State have 7. 6 quadrant 1 wins. Gonzaga, there's a long list. Texas Tech has 5.
Okay, so there's a difference there.
But at the same time, they're 5-0 at quadrant 2. So Baylor has a better resume. The head-to-head should make a difference. A lot of it will still depend because of who Baylor was in non-conference play, remember, although they did get thumped when they went on the road to play Alabama after they had that 15-0 start. So there's a long way to go. There's not too many games left, like 6 or so in men's Big 12, 6, 7. TCU's got a little bit more. When we come back, we're going to hear from Scott Drew from earlier today, the media session, not all of it, about a 4.5-minute clump of what Jack McKenzie, who was there, has put together. At 4 o'clock, the head coach of the University of Albany in football. Also today, we'll have John McClain at 5:30, Doug Gottlieb in the 5 o'clock hour, and Craig's Off the Radar at 4:45. And maybe a surprise guest, we're not sure, on maybe a little bit of the past from Dave Aranda. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, the Pioneer Boys. That's what their website, pioneerboys.com. Metal buildings, metal roofing, pipe and steel. Design it, build it. Quality protection every day. The structural standard. If you build something, you need heavy-duty equipment. Pioneer Steel and Pipe has all of it. And they also specialize in metal buildings. They will deliver what you buy because it's heavy. They'll unload it, what you buy, because it's heavy. And they've been in business since 1943. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, with a new location being built in Waco and Bryan since 1943. Customer service is all about what they do because that's how you last through all of the different ups and downs with the economy since 1943, but their product is also amazing. The new facility will even increase and better, more efficient, their distribution. It's pioneerboys.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott at edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Save big during the President's Day sales event at Allen Samuels. The new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L has total values of $2,000. For all first responders, get an extra $500. Shop the new car inventory for power, performance, style, and reliability today from their huge new car and truck inventory only at Allen Samuels in Waco. Now's the time to drive the amazing Jeep Grand Cherokee L you want.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Baylor men's basketball plays at Tech, number 7 against number 11, based on rankings. 21-4, 9-3 in the conference. Tech 19-6, and as Craig mentioned, a game back at 8-4. Texas Tech has a win against Kansas at home. They have a win against Texas at home. And they have a win against Baylor on the road. And so their Big 12 resume has been impressive. And in the conference, there are days like Oklahoma got them one night, just like Oklahoma State got Baylor. The problem, though, for Baylor in the end is that, yes, they still have a chance to control their own destiny, but they lost a couple of games at home. And in the conference that you're in, the Big 12, man, that's just hard to overcome. So you got to win a couple of games. You got to win either in Lubbock, or you have to win in Lawrence, which they didn't do, or you have to win in Austin, which is down the road, or somewhere like that, so to overcome the losses, especially those back-to-back losses to Tech. And the one against Oklahoma State was excruciating, the way that game went down as well. So Scott Drew and players met today with the media, Matthew Meyer and also Flo Thamba. Obviously, Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua was out. Today it was announced, in fact, he was having surgery, and that's how Scott Drew. This is not the entire thing. This is like 4.5 minutes. Scott Drew on the game with Texas Tech, but also opening up about Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua.
Scott, obviously, with John being out for the year, have you talked much with him? How is he feeling right now?
Yeah, John's, everyday John's biggest strength is every day he's got a smile and he's upbeat, and that's made us a lot more upbeat. So he's having surgery today, praying that goes well, and then knowing John, he'll probably be rehabbing first thing in the morning. Well, I think this one, same with Langston. When you know they're out for the year, it takes the guesswork out of it as far as trying to come up with multiple game plans. If you have someone, don't have someone. And obviously, John's a big part of everything we do. And one of the biggest things we'll miss is not only his contribution on game day and on the court, but in practice every day. He competes at such a high level. It makes everybody better. And the energy he brings, everybody's got to pick that up, because iron sharpens iron. And we got to keep improving as much as we can between now and our last game of the year. And with that, then you just why it takes a team to be successful, you got to have depth, and we got opportunities for other guys to step up now, and some guys that maybe to take on different positions and different roles. But we've done a great job thus far, battling through injuries and different adversities, and expect nothing less.
Scott, other than Flo playing some more minutes, what is the plan, or what are options?
Well, Jeremy's played some 5. You've also had Zach Loveday, and besides that, it seems like everybody's going 5 guards anyway. So, but Jeremy's already had reps there, and Zach's played there all year. So those are your 2 initial reactions, and then from there, whatever the game dictates. Well, like the first time we faced them, 2 great defenses going at it. They're big, strong, physical, do a great job making everything tough, do a great job competing on the glass. Whenever you're playing on the road in the Big 12, first and foremost, you got to take care of the ball. You can't give them easies in transition. And second of all, we got to do a good job making sure that when we get them in rotations, that our shot selection's good, because that's just as bad as a turnover if you take a bad shot. And then other than that, I thought we got out to a great start, 31-16 here, 31-15, whatever it was, and then the things that got us the lead we stopped doing, so we just got to do that for 40 minutes instead of 15 or 18.
When you watched them, did they remind you a little bit of those crispier teams, or what way are they a little different with Mark Adams now at the helm?
Well, definitely. One thing is, whenever you have a coaching change, things change, but the culture that they built there together still remains the same. And the players that have been there 2, 3, 4 years, they know the system. The system hasn't changed that much, especially on the defensive end. So a lot of similarities, just guys are a little older, bigger, more experienced in that. And similar to with us, you look at our guys that have been in the program 3, 4 years, they just physically, maturity-wise, mentally, provide great leadership, and again, the common denominator of great defense. They don't beat themselves. They compete. That's all there still.
How do you kind of prepare your guys to play in an environment like that, and what can they learn from?
Yeah, I would really like to know, do they go to class around there, to be honest? I mean, so, but no, you love basketball in Texas and the excitement that it brings, and over the years, the momentum it's picked up. You look at last year, 2 Final Four teams from the state, and I think there's a lot of excitement about basketball. Our fans have been outstanding, and I know the students have brought a lot of energy at Tech as well.
Coach, what was the biggest thing that, looking back on that game against Texas Tech the first time around, you guys took away from that or were able to learn from that, especially with how that game progressed?
Well, I think after each game you see things that have worked, things that were effective, and then you see things that you needed to change, adjust to. I mean, it's a Big 12 team that's a top 15, top 10 team in the nation. So we got to control what we can control, and I think what we did to get the lead, we just got to do for 40 minutes rather than 15.
All right, so that's Baylor's men's basketball coach, Scott Drew, the national champions, defending national champions. His thoughts about Jonathan Tchamwa, and then also his thoughts as well on Texas Tech, as you can imagine, and the students who are camping out. They're just incredible. The electricity, the energy, the passion that they have in Lubbock. Is a large school too, and they do support their men's basketball team. Katie Rader on the chat room. Hello from H-Town, from Houston. Katie, thank you very much.
Hold up.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Also, Paula, I just finished up a conference call listening as I finish up work for the day. Paula, welcome back to what we're doing. Thank you for your time as well on the chat room. Hey, tonight there's a game. Providence and Villanova are playing tonight. That's a hell of a game. And so watch for that one when you're looking at the top 10 in men's college basketball as well. From Scotty B, too bad the Baylor men's basketball game will be on during the same time the women. It happens. It was, of course, split up a little bit Saturday. It last, Wednesday? Both Baylor men and women were playing at the same time. In fact, both of them were on ESPN Plus at the same time, if I remember, a week ago Wednesday, so that's part of the schedule quirk that you get as well.
Yeah, women are on a good little run right now, and the men obviously are dealing with some issues, so we'll see what happens this weekend. Again, just a little over a handful of games left in the regular season. I'm kind of itching to get to tournament time at this point, but I know there's some big, regular season games to be played. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I'm looking forward to March. And yet then again, I'm kind of not, because I know that ends, and then college sports is, on not fumes by any means, still have, baseball and things like that. But we are getting towards the end of the calendar year in so many ways, as quickly as this last year has flown by. But, the women play Iowa State still. They're a game back right now. I was saying earlier on the podcast how, not incredible or amazing or anything. I mean, the Baylor women's basketball program wasn't like deconstructed when Kim Mulkey left. They still, had their basic pieces in place. I know some players did leave, but it wouldn't be all that surprising to see them go win a Big 12 title. But then again, I think for a lot of people, especially with the way the year started off, it would be. And they're in a position to do that. So if they could do that, especially with the way the season started and with how little numbers they have on their roster that they're still navigating, I think that would be a tremendous accomplishment. That would be a big deal for Nikki Collin to get a potential regular season or a tournament title. So they're playing better. That's for sure. They're getting wins. But then again, I don't want to give them too much credit, because I don't think that just because they changed coaches, they should be all of a sudden losing most of their games. Still Baylor basketball. So I'm not entirely shocked by it. She was brought on for a reason. It was to keep the good times going. And right now it's in a good spot. So hopefully they can keep that going.
Baylor's a game back of Iowa State. Iowa State tomorrow night playing Texas. That game is on the road in Austin. Then they play home against Oklahoma, who's also right there in the mix with Iowa State and Baylor, a game back. They do have a game against Baylor at home to end the month of February. There are still 6 games left on the schedule for the Iowa State women's team. They're a game up, 10-2 in the conference on Baylor and also Oklahoma. But Baylor has a win at home against Iowa State. They were swept, though, by Oklahoma. That's why that game a week ago tomorrow was so dangerous, when the Baylor had the lead and just flat out They ran out of gas and lost the game at home, because now they've been swept by Oklahoma. Baylor, TCU tomorrow night. Then at TCU, it's the second time in, 2 weeks, they play the same team home and away. They had the Texas game on Friday, Sunday. They have TCU coming up tomorrow night, and then also on Saturday as well.
Yeah, well, that worked out well against Texas, so hopefully it'll work out the same way. If you're a Baylor fan and, if you're a TCU fan, well, you hope it doesn't work out that same way, obviously. But I'm curious with the men. I mean, here you have Kansas just right there at the top again, but it is a tight race. Baylor just a game back, Tech just 2 games back, Texas just 3 games back. Now, it's hard to imagine a scenario where Kansas is going to give up a 3-game lead in 6 games. So Texas, odds are really pretty low, quite frankly, that they could somehow turn around and win the regular season title. So really what you're looking at is, KU, Baylor, and Tech. And we know KU and Baylor are going to play again. KU and Tech have to play a second time, right?
Yes. They have to play up in Lawrence, yes.
And then we know, there's going to be a little round robin between these 3 teams. Tech's got a little bit more work to do, but if they can beat Baylor tomorrow, that would go a long way because they'd have themselves there by themselves in second place since they'd have 2 wins.
And a sweep.
Yeah, they'd have 2 wins over Baylor and no more games unless they meet up in the tournament. But at that point, it doesn't matter in terms of the standings.
Texas Tech lost at Kansas. That was that classic game, 94-91. That was an incredible game. So they have 1-1 with Kansas.
Okay, they have played them twice.
Yeah, they have already played them. So Kansas has to play at Baylor, and then also Baylor has to play at Texas Tech. All right, on the chat room, a couple of more notes. 254-339-1122 on the text line. I'm going to get to a text here in a minute from Jace Pierce. Should give props to Baylor. That crowd was there for the UT game. Looked great on television. Salt to the earth. And again, salt to the earth, we do appreciate you being honest and open and transparent with us with what you've dealt with, your health, and we wish you the best. Scott Drew is the real deal. Now you've got your head coach in football wrapped up for years. Go Big 12.
Yeah, it is. The Aranda stuff is good news for the Big 12. I know some people will still, wait, see it to believe it, and I understand that, but I don't think he's the type of guy to sign a long-term contract and you turn around next season and he's gone. And especially look at the jobs that were open this year. Never say never, but, you can only go off what you know right now. And right now, the new Big 12 is shaping up to have a pretty good set of coaches and a pretty good set of teams. And I like the direction that it's headed. I know they're going to it's going to be a big blow whenever OU and Texas leave financially. There's no doubt. That's a big problem they got to navigate. But if they can navigate it, I think the product will be there. I don't think that they're taking some immense step down because those 2 are leaving. I think it can be just as good, if in some cases maybe even more competitive and better in some ways. But there's no doubt those 2 are going to hurt. And there's no way around that. So you got to manage as best you can, and I feel like they did that, as proactive as they were to go out and get 4 teams pretty much in the blink of an eye. And to get 4 programs who obviously have solid backing was a good move. And I'm kind of glad as well that they've, at least seemingly for now, held off on any further expansion. I don't know how much is still being discussed or whatnot, but for the time being, it appears that they're set with what they're doing. Mack Rhodes did leave the door open, although he's not going to be the one that's going to open the door. He doesn't want any more. But I think it was clear by his answer that there are others that do sound like they probably do. So that's still something to monitor over the next, months, year, 2 years, whatever. But if they stay pat with what they've got, they lose OU in Texas, but they've got those 12 remaining. I like that league. I think that league's perfectly fine. Be ultra competitive in basketball and should be ultra competitive in football as well. But if you're looking at the future of the Big 12 in football, one of the safest bets to make with the Dave Aranda contract news is, so long as he's around, they're going to be competitive. I don't have any doubts about that. And with OU stepping aside, not so much Texas in football, but with OU stepping aside, there's going to be a new top dog in the conference, and there was this last year, but there's going to be, somebody's got to be the new OU or the new Texas or the new kind of the big teams, and they're all pretty much on equal footing right now.
Well, now, to me, wouldn't you say that
Cincy and Baylor?
But Oklahoma State.
And Oklahoma State, yeah.
In fact, Mike Gundy over the weekend, I think it might have been over the weekend. The time I'm not sure, was mentioning about how they feel like they can help run the conference or be the dog, and they've been very consistent. They've missed a couple of the big wins although they had the one against Oklahoma, then lost in that heartbreaking loss to Baylor. Cincinnati's got to feel pretty frisky. We'll see again week in and week out how that works out. And Baylor, they've had a nice run. And then Iowa State has to step back up among some others as well. That is remains to be seen. From the 903, you were talking about the Horizon and Conference USA. Has there been any more information about the new Big 12 as far as the 2024 move of the incoming teams, and also what's the latest on Texas and Oklahoma? I believe that it's completely full throttle, that everybody that's coming in, those 4 teams, Expansion 1, and that appears right now to be Expansion 1 and Expansion 2 just kind of sitting there. He goes, I meant the AAC, not Conference USA. That Texas and Oklahoma would rather leave by 2023. Right now they're saying all the right things, probably some very quiet discussions in the background. I think they want to get out as soon as they can. That could end up just being financially not feasible. And then I think the Big 12 wants them to leave before the summer of 2023 is over. And UCF and Houston, Cincinnati and Brigham Young would love to be Brigham Young's coming no matter what. But the schools out of the American Athletic Conference, they like to be a part of it by that same time in 2023. And I think the American Conference is probably pretty much, we want to move on too. So there'll be some negotiations about who can exit, how much it might cost, or whatever else along the way.
Yeah, right now BYU's scheduled to get in a year earlier, aren't they? In 2023, and then the other ones are at least they're not BYU's coming in 2023
no
to
matter
the Big
what.
12. Yeah, like BYU's going to be in 2023. Now, as for the other 3, and they're all in that same conference boat, the latest that they can leave contractually is July of 2024. So in theory, those 3 could play the 2023 season in the American. But I don't know that anybody will want that.
I don't think the American even wants that. I think they want to move on with what they're doing as far as they got to figure their own.
But,
and,
technically, those 3 could be in the American in 2023, and BYU had moved on to the Big 12. I don't know how that would work. That would be kind of tough. That's not even accounting for where Texas and Oklahoma might be at that point. I mean, could they be in the league still in 2 years? Maybe so. I don't know. I wouldn't think so, but who knows?
When all that went down in late July, you thought they could be gone by the end of the 2021 season.
They were supposed to be here right now, yeah.
Obviously, that has changed because it's a little more complicated, and maybe they underestimated it, and perhaps not so much Texas. They can write a check for whatever they want. Perhaps, well, I think both Texas and Oklahoma, with all due respect, completely underestimated how the Big 12 might react and strengthen themselves, not strengthen themselves over Texas and OU, but strengthen themselves so quickly the way they did by adding the 4.
I am going to use that one if you don't mind, that top sheet right there.
No, I'm going to ready to go break.
Okay. What was the other part of that question, though? I don't want to leave off. It was about, them coming in, but I felt like there was another part to that.
Everyone has always assumed 2023, but that was pretty much it.
Okay.
The 27-month notice, technicalities, or whatever. I believe. Now, again, there's a lot of work to be done legally, that they want the Big 12 to have all 4 of those teams join them in the summer of 2023. Brigham Young's in, but have the others as well. And then Texas and Oklahoma, if they're still a part of the conference, well, they're still a part of the conference. And they move on, and eventually that time will come where they move on. And if it's not until 2025, who knows what might happen between now and then. All right, coming up at 4 o'clock, we're going to hear from the head football coach of the University of Albany, announced today to be Baylor's opening game 2022 to replace La Tech. We'll have that, and then also much more, including Doug Gottlieb, Off the Radar, and we'll have John McClain as well. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, they're 48-foot walk-in humidor. I was in there the other day, went by and saw Ashley. Cheyenne was there, and obviously Carol is there a lot of the time as well. Their cigars loaded inside the 48-foot walk-in humidor. Ashton, Macanudo, Padron, Cohiba, Romeo and Julieta, Rocky Patel, Arturo Fuente. Just keep going, right? They have pipes and tobacco if that's what you did. It's old school, and they have that as well if that's what you do. I remember my grandfather used to have a pipe, and it was always smelled so good. I don't see many people, at least I don't, who smoke pipes as much, at least not pipes with tobacco. But At the same time, that's still available for the old school way. And they have CBD products, including VitaDreams. You take a gummy, you take a full gummy or nibble on one, and eventually you kind of learn what you can do, and it helps you fall asleep faster and stop the toss and turning and losing 30 minutes or 45 minutes to an hour of sleep. Plus coffee, fresh coffee beans available as well. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
This is your 54th District Judge, Susan Kelly. Appointed to the court by Governor Greg Abbott, I've worked hard to manage and move the docket, even during COVID. Board certified in criminal law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization and past president of the Waco Bar Association, you can be sure I apply the rule of law and deliver justice for all. Early voting starts February 14th, so be my Valentine and vote for justice. Keep Judge Kelly.
Political ad paid for by Susan Kelly from McClain County Judge Campaign.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTN Electric, see dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
I just had a text from Rod. Rod sent a story about how they are the conference, American Conference is. It seemed like after Oresco was kind of a little bit of a little edgy when the Big 12 and the story with Texas and Oklahoma came down, remember there was the accusations by Bob Bowlesby that ESPN or maybe the American Football Conference and the SEC were kind of making things happen behind the scenes, and that ended that. And then Mike Oreska was a little bit edgy, as you can imagine, with trying not to lose teams in his own conference because he thought he was going to want to gain teams in his conference. And then all of a sudden that just shut down. And now it does seem as if Mike Oreska wants to move forward. The sooner they do, the sooner they can move on. And the same thing with the Big 12 as well. The same thing with the Big 12 as well. Mike Gaines.
He needs to stop worrying about the teams leaving and worry about getting that playoff expanded, and I think that probably is what he's worried about.
He sent out a big letter about that, didn't he?
That's the only thing that really matters for them. I mean, they're going to be hurt just like the Big 12 will be hurt by losing Texas and Oklahoma. The American's going to hurt from losing, Houston and Cincinnati and UCF. There's no question about that, but ultimately it's not going to matter one way or the other who they lost or who they gain if there's not an expanded playoff. So that's where his focus, I think, is right now, and that's where it needs to be more so than the teams that are leaving no matter what. They're leaving. So just get used to that idea and how it happens and when it happens. Like that is all still to be determined and whatnot. But, he's got to look at life after that and worry about the long-term stability of the American. And Bob Bowlesby's got to do the same with the Big 12. That's why they went out so quickly and got who they got. But they still have concerns, like what are the TV rights like in the future and what are the contracts going to be like? So that'll be very interesting to see. But, I mean, he's put out that letter. I read that, and, we'll see what happens with the playoff. Every other day it seems like there's some news that's not really news, but there's something swirling about it, and yet we end up in the same place. So we'll see.
And Chapter 2 seems to be, as even Craig alluded to, and we're going to hear from Greg Gattuso here momentarily, the Albany football coach, who will open up with Baylor in the 2022 season opener. That was announced today along with the Dave Aranda contract. Honestly, that's just kind of come to a halt. It's kind of very quiet. First of all, Texas and Oklahoma, they're just kind of quiet. The college football expansion, that, of course, is pretty much dead in the water for right now until they get some movement. And that doesn't mean he won't do it, but that thing has come down very, very it's been, you talk about stuck in the mud, that's what they are. So earlier today, Baylor announced the extension that we've told you about now for the last few weeks, about the extension for Dave Aranda, head football coach, in his contract, but also word came down of who they will open the 2022 season against, and the University of Albany, the Great Danes, and their head coach, Greg Gattuso. And he joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And, Coach, thank you very much for your time under short notice. Today, of course, the announcement came down. Can you give us a little background on how all of this came about and how Baylor contacted you or vice versa?
Well, how that all started, I'm not positive. I know there was some availability issues for both schools looking for a game because some other teams, some things that went on. My athletic director just called me in and asked me, talk to me about the game. And obviously guarantee games are very important to a program at the FCS level. And I certainly would probably not pick Baylor as my first choice, but I know how good they are and the type of program that they have. But I think that our kids are going to be really fired up about going down to Texas and play. I mean, they're a top BCS program and have national championship aspirations. And, we understand what a challenge it is for us. But the second part of that is it's just a great experience for our kids. And we played Syracuse, we played University of Pittsburgh. We played some people at that level, and it's a challenge, but it's also a fun game for us to get ready for.
Well, Coach, state of Texas is looking forward to welcoming you with open arms. You mentioned, Baylor being successful. What do you really know about them? I mean, you're obviously worried about your own business, but how much do you even know about the Baylor football program?
I know they wear green and gold because they were the colors I wore in high school. And, and the boss said that, obviously it's a guarantee game. And I said, the only guarantee I need is that I could meet Chip and Joanna Gaines. So if I could meet those two, it'd be a hell of a trip for us.
Well, they're usually at the game, so there's probably a good chance of that.
I think that could probably be worked out as well. You've been a part of big-time football. You played on a national championship team at Penn State, and then you've been coaching now for quite some time, including about to be your 9th year at Albany. You mentioned the money games where FCS schools have to travel to play against teams in the FBS, and sometimes they can win those games. We've seen what North Dakota State, among some others, have done. How important is that, Coach, that never gets to a point where those games dry up and fade away when you see all this thoughts and talk about bigger, better, faster, stronger conferences?
Well, look, I've been on both sides of these games. I coached at the University of Pittsburgh. With Dave Wanstead, I coached at the University of Maryland. We played tough games against some FCS schools. Any day you have an opener and someone's playing well, you never know. But we were able to beat Buffalo a few years back. We went up there and won a tough game. But it's a long trip to compare Buffalo to Baylor. I think Baylor's is an elite program right now, and they're really. I know 2 years ago they weren't at that level, but last year they were spectacular. I got to see them play on TV in the bowl season, and I thought they were really good. Didn't look at them critically yet, but at the end of the day, this is a great experience for our kids. It really is, and like I said, I've been on both sides of these games. I've seen, we were at Maryland when Towson came in, and we squeaked by 10-9. We beat William & Mary one year 7-6. So I get it that, these games can be good, but generally, you want to go in and put your best foot forward and stay healthy and go home and build off of it. And that's exactly what we're going to try to do.
What are those sighs of relief like when you're at and I can't remember exactly what you just said, but like Maryland and you edge out Towson, and I know it's early games in the year and whatnot, you never really know, but what is that feeling of relief like once the clock finally hits zero and you do eke one of those out?
Well, I will say this: if you want to see a bunch of tight, nervous people, see a BCS team going into the fourth quarter with a short lead, because it could be devastating to a program. It's there's a lot of good football teams out there, and you never know how things are going to go that day. But at the end of the day, you're expected to win those games, and they certainly are going to look at us. And we had a rough year last year, and not probably take us super serious, and that's good. I hope they don't. I mean, it's at the end of the day, we've been a good program. We've had some good football players. We just put out in the transfer portal. We just lost our best defensive player, who's, I'm not sure, Baylor probably offered him for all I know, named Jared Verse, ended up at Florida State. So, we recruit good players, and we try to do things the right way and compete hard, and that's all we can control in this type of game. I know the speed, the size is one thing, but I know the speed is the scariest part of it, and I know they're going to be real fast. So we just pray for a heavy rain, which I'm sure you don't get much in Waco. So we'll see what happens.
Well, every once in a while we'll get a downpour. Not much when it's like 100
Not
degrees
September,
outside. Greg, Coach Gattuso, let me ask you this. You mentioned the transfer portal, and I hate to hear that for you, but when that happened, I think maybe it just opened up the doors, the floodgates, and now we see that it's just like almost the Wild West. And then a lot of times people forget about the fact that there are schools in your division or in the FCS that might have an elite player. Then all of a sudden now he gets plucked away. Incarnate Word had their quarterback who now is playing up, I guess, at Washington State or wherever he went. Is that something you even thought could be the problem or could end up being a problem for you?
Well, I've been in this a long time, and I really very much worry what we're doing, what we're teaching our young people. And I will say this, I mean, I feel like the NCAA was such a great organization. They always protected the student athletes, and I just worry that they're not as protected now with what's going on. But you have to learn to adjust to things. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I pride myself on adjusting to whatever environment I'm in and doing the best I can in it. I'm not going to sit around and worry about it and complain. We lost a good player or two in the portal, but we went out and signed about 8 really good football players that have made our depth better right now. So, that you just make the best of situations, and I can only worry about what it does for our young people. The lack of, control of kids moving around the country. I just don't know that that's real good for them, but certainly out of my control.
Coach, in only playing 4 games last year, and I don't know how many people are probably out there as far as like a Baylor audience goes, and we've got Big 12 audience and all that, but I don't know how many people out there have probably seen Albany games. But for those who are going to be at the game coming up in September, and they want to know what Baylor's going to be facing, how would you describe the Albany football program, y'all's direction, your mentality, and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously I'm not sure anybody in Texas has seen us play, but, we have our following and a good group of people that support our program. And we're going to try to play a really as physical brand of football as we can play. We're going to try to establish a run game. If you're going to have any chance in a game like this, you got to be able to control the clock and try to keep the speed off the field. But that's really tough in these matchups because you have a deficit up front size-wise, and you certainly have a speed deficit. So, we're going to try to run the clock, and that's the best thing that we can do is to, in big games is old school football. Try to run the football, take some shots, get some big plays, and really try to find a way to contain the skill. But like I said, that's a tall order for us because there'll be some matchup problems for sure, and they have a group of guys that can run, that are going to make big plays. But nothing fancy. We're just going to go out and be really good tacklers and physical football team and play our football best we can do.
Greg, you had that year, of course, the COVID year, 1-3. A lot of people didn't get it. Some big schools that didn't get to play much. It depends on the conference, the part of the country, how things were looked at. The year before that, you had a 9-win season and won a playoff game, I think, for the first time in the FCS. How frustrating was it with that momentum, and then all of a sudden you basically don't play any games?
It was brutal. It's heartbreaking, to be honest. I mean, we had really built to that 2019 season, had a good football team. We were really, really on the rise. I think, what people don't realize about being in New York during the pandemic was we did not have a padded practice in 2020. We had not one, no spring practices, though our strength and conditioning, we got almost nothing formal after March 1st of 2020. So it really sent us into a little bit of it was tough. And I feel bad for my kids. I'm not an excuse maker, and it's certainly not an excuse. It's a reality. And we were hit very hard, compared to the people in the world and the horrible things that people have gone through with their families and things. It certainly doesn't compare. But in our world of football, imagine Baylor trying to compete after not playing football for a year. It's devastating. We didn't even have our kids on campus for most of it. So it was tough. And then to play I don't know, you haven't had a chance to spend February, March day in Albany in outside. It's not good to play football. It's not conducive for it. Trust me. And 2021 was a tough year for our football program, but we're just looking forward to we're excited. This is the first off season we've had in 3 years. We're really excited. I don't think I've ever been more excited about spring practice in my life. That to get our kids out and start developing. I have one starter on my defense coming back that has had a spring practice. So that's the kind of challenges we're trying to overcome. But I'm excited about it because we're going to get a lot done this spring. We're going to train hard all summer, and we're looking forward to getting to Texas and Waco and meeting Chip and Joanna and playing the Baylor football team.
Well, you're going to love the stadium and the view as well. You mentioned how that just no contact, no padded practices, and it's football. It's hard to even fathom. When you say spring drills, when will you guys open up your spring drills?
We start April 1st.
Okay.
So we're just, like I said, we're really working hard training. We feel like we've recovered physically, which is good. That was not having the training was just as bad as not having practices. We're at this point now where it's awesome to just be out in the field and be able to talk to the kids and spend time with them. We battled our tails off all fall. We lost a lot of close games in our conference, and we finished decent, but it's certainly not acceptable. It's not who we are. We think we built a better program than being 2-9, and unfortunately that we have a tough opener. But that game, how we approach that game, and how we utilize that will help us for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I would think it's going to be great motivation as well. But no question, today, tomorrow, and in the next few months. Have you ever met or seen Dave Aranda at any kind of coaching clinic?
I have not, no.
Okay, I was just curious because you're a defensive guy, and obviously he has climbed the ladder, and in fact today signed a contract extension through 2029 and has done, as you mentioned, a remarkable job. And, we can probably not so much personally relate to what you went through in 2020, but Baylor, as you know, first-year head coach, and they couldn't do much. Everything was on Zoom, and they went 2-7. It was a disaster. They played 9 games. But it was, we kind of, in a way, probably can understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was brutal. The Zoom stuff, and it was. What we do as coaches is spend time with our players. I tell parents in recruiting, we're going to spend more time than anybody has ever spent with your child in the next 5 years. Really, when you think about it, outside of a parent, we spend the most time with them. And when you take that away, all kind of bad things happen. Kids get out of shape. They're not trained. It's hard. It's really hard to train. I don't know how you guys handle that. I know Texas is was a little more open than New York was, but our kids didn't even have gyms to go to. Even when they were home, they had no gyms open, most of our kids. So it was tough. It was tough as an athlete. But like I said, we count our blessings. We get to coach football and play football, and it was hard on us, but it's nothing compared. I hate whining about it because nothing compared to the rest of what the world's gone through. But it was tough on us, and like I said, I've never been more excited about a spring practice just to get out there and start teaching fundamentals again, and not. We spent the whole year of 2021 getting ready for games, and it's not good for the young players to do that. It's not good for training either.
I love your mascot, the Great Danes. I love unique mascot names, and I love the logo, the mascot, the image, and all of that. That's really cool.
Well, when I took this job, my wife always wanted a Great Dane, so we have 2 of them at home too. So,
nice.
You jumped right in.
A little bit of a handful.
Yeah, they're really wonderful dogs, but they are. My wife and I are getting a little older now, and they're big. They're big. One's about 175 pounds, and one's probably about 150 pounds, something like that. And yeah, they're good. They're my guys, though. Blitz and Bruno.
Greg, can you tell me, was there a time when Albany stopped playing football for quite some time back early on in the program's history? Can you kind of give me a history lesson with that?
Well, there certainly was way back, probably something like that. But the guy I replaced, a guy named Bob Ford, was the head football coach here for 44 years. So they started a club program and he took it over. So he coached so we've only had 2 coaches in the past 52 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not going to make 44. I can promise you that. I'm just trying to get through that Baylor game right now.
I know.
Well, Coach, I'm sure that everybody will be hospitable down here, but you'll hear about the heat. Just know it's going to be even worse than you probably imagined. Hydrate, and humidity. That's what people don't realize when they come to Texas is they prepare for the heat, but not so much the humidity. So just friendly advice to keep that in mind when you guys get ready here in a few months.
Well, I appreciate that, and just one more thing to worry about for that game. But no, we're already understanding. I don't have a game time on it, but I don't know what time they play, but it's the heat is obviously going to be a huge thing for us.
If they play in the evening, it's still so damn hot. Yeah. But it'd be good. And better to play like 11 a.m., honestly, than it would be to play like at 5 or 6. That would be like playing in a skillet.
Well, we'd love to play as early as possible just because we got to get back. We got to get back and play a conference game. So, we just whatever it takes. And obviously, we're going to play a lot of people and go out and just play our best football game. I don't even know. I don't know anything about their offense. I hope they huddle. I hope they huddle.
Wide zone. A lot of.
They run the wide zone with Jeff Grimes, who was at Brigham Young his first year, and they ran the ball really, really well last year. No question about it. But I don't.
Do they huddle? That's all I want to know. If they
I'm trying to think.
I don't know if they
I don't
do.
even recall, honest. Do they?
I don't
kind
even
of,
know.
sort of. Yeah, like
I don't
I'd say
know.
like it's kind of middle of the road on that, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, you guys aren't much help. You're not giving me any scouting reports.
And you know what, though? I'm telling you, after 2020, the way that offense was, we stopped watching it
Yeah,
for a while.
really.
It was not good. Hey, Greg, one more thing. I got to ask you this. I'm a lifelong Nebraska fan, and they're not very good right now and haven't been for a long, long time. Was that pass that Blackledge threw to McCloskey, was that a you're laughing. You know exactly where I'm going with this, don't you? Was that a complete pass?
Well, here's what I'm going to say to you. I would never challenge the officials.
Yeah.
But here's what I would say. I was standing directly on the sideline, 15, 20 yards from that, looking down the line, and I turned around, threw my hands up because he was out of bounds by about a yard and a half.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And the ref blew it in. So, and that was one of also playing against Dave Remington. I was a nose guard on that football team, so I was head to head with Dave Remington.
You have got to be kidding me. Maybe the ultimate battering ram. Hell, they named the award after him.
They did, and he was special. The fun part, I actually played a good game against him.
Good.
Everybody was scared of him. I just stayed real low and try to stay in his pocket as much as I could. He was something.
Well, that was
good.
That was a classic. You went on to win the national championship. Of course, beat Herschel Walker in Georgia. I remember that game because replay today would have been different. But you know what? I hate the replay and reviews and all that anyway. Just play the game and see how it goes. Thanks, Greg. Thank you for jumping on with us. We really do appreciate you.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
We'll have
Bye.
you on again, too. Greg Gattuso, the head coach at Albany. He's been great. Appreciate them being able to as well. Taylor, with the Sports Information Department, Taylor O'Connor and Media Relations to get that set up with us. As soon as that game was announced, I contacted him, and he turned that around very, very quickly. So
yeah, I thought I'd at least give some friendly advice on the humidity because that's what people do not typically account for and what really, wipes you out more than the actual temperature does. It's that humidity down here. But, yeah, lovely guy, and look forward to seeing Albany make their way here in a few months and, do their thing. And, I'm sure there'll be a nice crowd there for the home opener and all that. So, yeah, cool to talk to him and hear a little bit about his backstory as well. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Mike asked whether or not he was Coach Gattuso on the staff when Pittsburgh was upset by Youngstown State. No, he was not. He mentioned Pittsburgh as a part of his resume, but he was not at the time on that game. That was 2012, I think it is. 2012, maybe right before he took the job at Albany when Youngstown beat Pittsburgh, I think 31-17.
And honestly, he could have asked any question about Baylor football, and the one question he asked is the one that stumped me, about them huddling. Because you don't really think about it.
I think they are still coming in from the sideline.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just not something that I guess felt like I paid attention to, really. So yeah, I mean that stumped me when I first had to think. Do they huddle? Sometimes
it's not the full. Hair on fire.
No, it's not.
It's not like that. It is
offense.
More of a slow, methodical type doing it that way. And at times when you have to heat it up and get going, they can do that as well. All right, thanks to Greg Gattuso. Albany football, last year they didn't have a very good year. I think they were 2-9. The year before that they were 1-3. And imagine that they have not had spring drills in 3 years. And, right there smack in the middle of the New York State, it couldn't do anything. And not even were the kids, when they were home,
capital.
Could not do anything as well. So there's that. Thank you for Greg Gattuso and his time. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr has tons of great deals going on right now. It's not the easiest time by any means to buy a car, but Richard Carr is trying to make it a lot easier for you. They've got both new and pre-owned vehicles on their lot right now that are there for the taking, there for the buying, and they want to get you into a new ride with this new year. If you've been waiting to buy a new GMC Buick or Cadillac, now's the time to move. Get on the inbound vehicle list as Richard Carr is receiving deliveries of new cars and trucks each week, and by getting on that inbound vehicle list, you can get your new car or truck as soon as they arrive. If you're in the market for a truck, well, they have the GMC Sierras, 277 horsepower engine, best-in-class cargo bed volume. head and leg room, luxury interior, and ride. It compares to a luxury sedan. So there's one option for you, the GMC Sierra. And Richard Carr has Sierras in stock with more on the way. Plus, right now, get 0% for 72 months for qualified buyers. If you're in the market for SUVs, they've not only got 11 different SUV models from the Buick, GMC, and Cadillac brands, but they've got all the different trim options as well. So endless amount of different ways you could go with SUVs over at Richard Carr, from the model to the trim options. And among those offerings, they got the Buick Encore. It's a nice, sophisticated, fun vehicle. They've got the luxurious Cadillac Escalade. Whatever you're looking for, they've got it over at Richard Carr, starting at $24,000. So call now, come by now, or go online to find the perfect SUV for your family, and trust the good local people you can count on for over 20 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans and proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to the water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Baylor for three. Yes.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Paul Catalina's out. He'll be okay. Just needed a little bit of a reset, and so we will see him hopefully tomorrow. Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims behind the scenes. Craig Smoak with me on set. David Smoak and Sikkim 365 Radio. Craig's off the radar coming up here momentarily in about 15 minutes. Here's what I'd like to do. Right now, we haven't done this in a while because of the pace and whatever. And Stephen Snook, thank you. And then Brandon, thank you for the interview that you mentioned as far as with Coach Gattuso and a great interview. He was fun. Yes, he was. I enjoyed that as well. He'd be, in fact, Mike said he'd really like to be a guy you'd want to play for. I agree. 254-339-1122. We have not opened the lines up in a while. And we will do that for the next, I'd say, for the next segment. Next 10 or 12 minutes, 254-339-1122. Armstrong, please let me know if we light them up. And we do appreciate those of you who have the time to listen, watch, chat, and or text, and now call if you have time to do so. From Mike, good luck to the Albany Great Danes. Hopefully they'll see my Youngstown State Penguins for the playoffs. Youngstown State, of course, had that great run. Wasn't that Tressel was their coach for the longest time? I know that recently Bo Pelini was, but when Youngstown was making a run and winning national titles, I thought that perhaps just off the top of my old head that Jim Tressel was the guy leading the way. All right, here's a note, 254-339-1122. We would love to get your feedback. Big 12 basketball. Who's going to survive this? Kansas has the edge. Baylor next at Tech tomorrow night. Can Tech win the conference title? Can they get the 1-1 with Kansas? They have the game with Baylor tomorrow at home and then on the road against UT. Who, if Kansas doesn't win the Big 12 men's basketball title, who will? And I know that means Baylor's got a game edge, but again, the game tomorrow night on the road against Texas Tech. 254-339-1122, your thoughts on that. And really, it's been not quiet on conference realignment and the changes. We've given you a couple of those stories as well, but it has kind of calmed down a little bit, and that means I would think that probably after the NCAA tournament, maybe in April, you head into the spring, there might be another pick-me-up of some more chatter and possibly movement as well. I got this from a scout. Smokey, keep this super hush on who I am. Not kidding, this is a text message. The Texans love Jalen Petrie. Now, I didn't mean the other 31 don't either. But they love what they saw from Jalen Petrie at the Senior Bowl.
It's good to know. Hopefully a lot of other teams did as well. I mean, whoever gets him, I think, is getting a hell of a player, and I'm certainly no NFL scout or, anything of the sort. Seen guys come and go. I mean, I thought Corey Coleman was going to be a really good pro, and he flamed out in historic fashion, quite frankly. And I'm not trying to bag on Corey, but I mean, I thought like this guy's going to be a dude, and he was not. But Jalen Petrie, I would be really surprised if he doesn't turn out to be a dude at the next level. I mean, he just is in general, and he's got it, man. He whatever it is you need, he's got it. And so, I would imagine there's a lot of teams that are very intrigued by what he could bring to their franchise.
He's just, he's a football player. He's a football player. Armstrong, who do we got?
We have Matt in D.C.
Matt in D.C. for Craig and David Smoak. Matt, thanks for your time. Good afternoon.
Thank you all. Yeah, just going to talk a little about Big 12 title race. I mean, I think I can see Baylor winning the remaining of its games. I can see us going 4-2, maybe 5-1. I think for us to win it, we have to basically win out, which means we got to beat Tech, maybe tie Kansas at the end. And if we don't win it, I think Kansas is just going to continue to be Kansas. And I still think that title or that name on that jersey when they walk into the arena is still worth about 7 points, just because of the mindset until we break it. So hopefully, take care of Texas Tech and go from there. But I also want to add something on that the AAC commissioner's letter, which I read that whole thing too. Y'all were talking about it, about the expansion and everything. I hope the playoff expands, but he also dropped in there like, we're worried about all this. Our team's leaving. Your AAC's done. Like, what's going to happen if you expand? It's just going to be the top 2 teams in the Power 5. There's no more autonomous 6. They may still have like 2 teams in, but his whole idea of trying to stop calling us the A6. You've always been the A6. You just lost your top guys. You've been eaten. So, I mean, good luck to you, but they're not even going to get in, I don't think. We took their best guys. The Big 12's better. See down the road, Oklahoma and Texas, but the AAC commissioner just needs to, expand the playoffs so, Baylor has a better chance. I'm just being selfish, but that's just the reality of it.
Thank you, man. And it's good for his conference. I mean, that's what they need. Mike Oresco
I think what he's saying is that it's not going to make that much of a difference for them, but it is probably their best hope of remaining relevant.
Yeah.
Because outside of that, I mean, who are the biggest American teams people were talking about? Well, all the ones were the ones going to the Big 12, basically. So, yeah, absolutely.
254-339-1122. Mike in D.C., we appreciate the Matt in D.C., excuse me. We appreciate the call. Anything else, Armstrong? Wide open, 254-339-1122. Also in the chat room, Papa Blake. Looking back, if you add Brigham Young and Cincinnati earlier, you might have more cards to play to keep them, talking about Texas and Oklahoma. No, I don't think that it matters whether the other schools other than Brigham Young enter the conference earlier or not. There is so much legality, legal stuff that has to get done. One, Texas and Oklahoma, I truly believe when they announced that they were leaving, when the story broke and beat them to it, that they were leaving for the SEC, I believe they thought that the Big 12 would crumble. I truly believe that they thought that they were so powerful. And some of you might say, and we've seen, that whether it's an arrogant way or not, that the Big 12 would implode, a couple of teams would gone, and then next thing you know, there's 7 teams, 6 teams. That never happened. And you could say whatever you want about Bob Bowlesby, and it's been a long time, since early September, since the expansion was announced. They found a way. They found a way. They cannot replace the logos of Texas and OU or the money that those two or the eyeballs they bring to the table. But, hey, they found a way. And the 4 they brought in were probably perfect, considering who was available at the time.
Oh, there's no doubt that Oklahoma and Texas thought the Big 12 was going to fold and they were going to pay no buyout. I think that was the ultimate goal, was you have the Big 12 crumble, enough teams get cold feet or get antsy, and they jump at the first opportunity to go to somewhere they feel is more of a safety net. Obviously the other conferences have to play along with that too. So when the Pac-12 didn't invite anybody, or the Big 10 didn't invite anybody, or nobody else did, I mean, that kind of left things where they were and kind of helped answer the question on its own. But certainly the Big 12 going and grabbing those 4 further, shored things up. And I have no doubts in my mind that ultimately OU and Texas probably thought, hey, they're going to lose teams, they're going to lose us, and then others will bail, and then we don't pay a buyout, and we just skip on freely into the SEC whenever we want to, basically. Because I don't think there was any part of their plan other than this could happen. I don't think any part of their plan in Norman or Austin was, we're going to be here for another 3 or 4 years, and we might even play games against BYU and Cincinnati in our final year. Like, I don't think that ever crossed their mind, other than just this could happen, but we probably won't get to this point. And then, when the Big 12 reacted the way that they did, it didn't, break apart, and there's still a buyout to pay. And so that's why we're here, still sitting in the same spot, and same contracts and same exit expectations and all that. But originally all last year in the very beginning, and it faded as the season went along, but in the very beginning, it's the last time Texas is ever going to do this in the Big 12. It's the last time Oklahoma will ever come to Waco. Is it going to be, or are they going to be here in 2 years again?
Yeah, no.
I mean, it might have been, but it might not have been either, and that's where we are. Nobody really knows just yet.
Yeah, there could be the last time they play them in basketball, all that. But there's a lot of moving parts. No question about it. By the way, I thought we would be able to have a surprise guest on the show today. He is the former head football coach at Redlands High School in California, where Dave Aranda played his high school football, in Jim Walker, who's very nice enough on a busy day for us, late notice for him to join us on the show today on Sikkim 365 Radio. Coach Walker, heard a lot about you, have read the stories about Coach Aranda back in the day in high school football. You were the head coach at the time. I don't know if you heard this or not. He did sign an extension. He's probably the last one that wanted it even announced because of who he is. But your thoughts about Dave Aranda and what he's accomplished, not just at Baylor, but in his career?
Well, it's incredible. Well, thank you for having me on board. Go sick 'em. I guess that's what you guys say out there, right?
Yes, sir.
But yeah, Dave Aranda played, his senior year, he played in the 94 team. And then, of course, in 95 and 96, he was a JV guy for me, JV coach, 19 years old out there coaching, doing his job. And then, of course, he went to Cal Lutheran after that. But, the people ask me all the time, was Dave going to leave Baylor? Was Dave going to leave Baylor? All this stuff. And I said, I don't think so. I think he made a commitment to them. I think he really enjoys it there. I think it's a perfect place for him.
Coach, just what were your, looking back now, just your initial kind of interactions with Coach Aranda, your initial impressions, and then, obviously as you got to know him better, just, kind of what were your thoughts on him as a football mind player, all that?
Well, when he was in high school, his nickname was Fence Post because he wouldn't say crap if he had a mouthful. And now to hear him talk so philosophically, I'm telling you, we missed a lot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I wish he'd given me some of that when he was playing and coaching. But he is such a great football mind. He's so far ahead of you in his thought process. We visited him as a staff when he was at Wisconsin. I took my whole staff back there, and we sat down with him for a full week, and everything he said was like dogma, how we're going to attack the protection, because that's his big thing, attack the protection. And, he's just so far ahead of you, it was almost mind boggling, but at the same time, he's so humble, he's so down to earth. He believes in playing it forward, and he's one of those guys that'll give till it hurts. And you guys are really, really blessed, to have a guy like Dave Aranda calling the shots there.
Well, there's no question. And the kind of personality he is, I mentioned this when I was introducing you, Jim. Jim Walker, the former head coach at the Redlands High School where Dave Aranda played his football and then coached a little bit as well. This contract apparently was signed like 3 weeks ago or so, and it's been agreed upon for a long, long time. But he seems to be like the last person that he wants any attention.
Yeah, no, it's always about the players, the process, the staff that he surrounds himself with, and as well as I do. I mean, there's been a lot of great head football coaches that have coached college football. And it really comes down to the guys you surround yourself with, and he has that ability, that innate ability to read people, and understand what their motivation is and then get them on his side, and that's what makes a great head coach, is you got to go out and hire some great coaches, and then those coaches have got to stay with you, hopefully, but he is one of a kind, no doubt. One of a kind.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I know it's been a couple of years now, but when obviously he was a highly heralded, well-paid, one of the top DCs in the entire country. But when he finally did make that decision of I am going to go and now be a head coach, what were your thoughts?
Well, you know what? I knew it was going to be a challenge for him because he's going to have to come out of his shell and kiss some babies and shake some hands and do the things head coaches have to do at the golf tournament and at the president's house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I knew that, he would have to really come out of his shell, at times, And I think that's the biggest question for anybody. Can you make the changes you need to be successful, whether it's in a game plan or whether it's socially, et cetera? And he's done that. And I think that's what makes him, that great coach is that he understands that game that has to be played a little bit. He doesn't like playing it, but he's going to play it, and he's going to do what it needs to be done to get Baylor in those Final Four, for the playoffs.
Jim, he had a shoulder. I'm not sure if it wasn't both shoulders. I know he always struggled with that. We know that it ended his career basically as well. But he was a battering ram. No matter if it was linebacker, offensive line, or even if you tried out as a fullback. What do you recall about him as a player?
Well, as a player, you got to understand now, his senior year, we ended up 5-5. We lost 2 tough games in the league, one in overtime and one by 3 to Fontana. And then because we came in third, we got the great honor of having to play Modern Day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they got after us pretty good that night. He went into the game, and we had to strap his arm down with a leather strap so he couldn't pull it away, because every time his arm would get out wide, he dislocated his shoulder. So that's why he couldn't play linebacker for us. But he was the best linebacker in the league, there's no doubt. So I moved him to guard because he was such a tough SOB. And he blew his shoulder out in the Modern Day game somewhere late in the second quarter, early third, where, he totally blew it out. It broke the bone, broke it out of its socket. Didn't say boo to anybody. Played the rest of the game with the shoulder like that. And then, of course, afterwards, he had to have major reconstructive surgery on that shoulder. But he didn't say boo. He just kept playing. And it's kind of, you watch his teams play, and that's kind of how they play. You know what I mean? You really, your quarterback wasn't the most talented guy in the world, but he played his ass off, and that's the way he expects you to play, kind of like he did, And then he coached for me for 2 years, comes to me and says, hey, Coach, I want to play some more. So I got him into my alma mater, which was Cal Lutheran, and he went to Cal Lutheran, and after camp week, he kind of just showed up. I called Bob Schaub at the time, or the guy that was there, and I said, hey, I got this guy. Well, he shows up. All of a sudden, he's a starting inside linebacker. They're getting ready for game 1. He blows his shoulder right before game 1. And I remember how just distraught he was, And he called me and we talked, and I said, well, he's got a choice, I said, the cards that are dealt. You got to get here and help coach. He ended up, they didn't have any really true GA jobs, that paid anything. And so he just helped and coached, and his roommate was that guy from Texas.
Tom Herman, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That was his roommate.
Yep.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
No. Those personalities, I can't imagine what that was like at 11:30 at night in the dorm room. I can't imagine.
They're talking about how to blitz a certain protection,
Yep.
And of course their girlfriends are going, geez, what we get mixed up in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But Dave ended up marrying his college high school sweetheart, and when the whole staff got fired at Hawaii, which I was really, early in his career, the whole staff got fired. He was the DC, and really, the only good thing about Hawaii that was the defense, And I got a call from Dave, and he says, "Hey, Coach," he says, "my wife and I were tired of all the travel, we're tired of all the moving. We maybe just want to come back, coach high school." Well, once the paramedics revived me, and we got going, I was like ecstatic. I couldn't talk. I called Miguel, my defensive coordinator, who coached David, and we said, "Holy moly!" Then a week later, he got a cup of coffee with Southern Utah, and then a week after that, he got the call with Anderson over to Utah State, and the rest is history. But I did see. I went to the LSU Texas A&M game that was in Baton Rouge. Now, I think that was the year before they won the national championship. And I remember I watched Dave on the sidelines, and when they come off, the stuff that they would work on the sidelines. There was no excitement. Dave is pretty stoic. You know that. And so it's all about, there's nothing too high, there's nothing too low. We're going to stay right in the middle here, even in our preparation during the game. And I remember the Texas A&M ran a motion with the back out to the tight end side away from trips, and the corner didn't go with it, and they ended up throwing it and picking out. That was one of their better plays that they ran that game. Well, after the game, I'm watching Dave, right, and I finally saw it. He took those headphones off and smashed them into the ground, right? And I said to him afterwards, I said, "Dave, I've been watching you a long time. That's the first time I've ever seen you do that." He says, "Coach, we worked on that over and over and over, and we still screwed it up." Of course, he had the guys at LSU to take care of business, and so it is what it is. But yeah, he's one of those guys that's just so even keeled. You almost think, when you listen to him talk and you see him, you go, "No, this is too good to be true. This guy, come on, nobody's this good." He is. He is. He deserves every penny they give him.
Yeah, and no question. He has earned every bit of it, and people here, of course, are thrilled. And there were a lot of big jobs that opened up, and he never blinked. Not once. He kept saying that, but nobody would believe him. Like he told me one time, why should I say I'm staying? No one's going to believe me. And so now this is did you see him and his reaction or lack of one when Baylor stopped Oklahoma State at the half-inch line and how he just basically showed no emotion, like a ninja or a Jedi?
Yeah, I mean, honest to God. And you know what? That guy might have been knocked down by Jedi powers.
Yeah. Could have been.
It could have been. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling you, they say this is a game of inches. Well, my God, this is a game of quarter inches. But yeah, but that's the way he is. He's thinking about, okay, what's going to happen next? Where are we at? What's the situation? I mean, his brain is different. It fires on different synapses than everybody else. Because he's so focused. And I guess his expectations are, that was the play we're supposed to make.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, and so I'm not going to get excited about something we're supposed to do. Let's get out there and make the plays we're supposed to make. And if you put your kids in the right spots and just let them play, which Dave believes in,
let me ask you this, Jim, as well, and I appreciate you jumping on with us late notice. And obviously, we knew that he was had signed. We just didn't know when it would become official, so we appreciate you and a lot of the stories that we've heard from his time at the Redlands or, as you mentioned, Cal Lutheran and elsewhere. Sometimes Tony Dungy said to him one time, don't ever try to be different than who you are, because sometimes if for example, you're not a coach that's a yeller or emotional, people think there's no fire. And of course, when they went 2-7, you heard a little bit of the chatter, and he talked to me or others about it, that just because you don't have emotion doesn't mean it doesn't burn in your gut. Is that kind of also describe him pretty well?
Oh yeah, I think he's got a combustion engine inside of him. And he's going to remember everything, and he remembers the feeling of 2-7. Now he's going to remember this feeling of 12-2. And I guess everybody loves that 12-2 feeling, but he's one of those guys that he's not going to let that happen again. I mean, he's just not. He's going to find a way. And, and like, it's like anybody, it's like at Michigan when Harbaugh, everybody's called fire Harbaugh. And then, of course, he takes him to the promised land almost. And now all of a sudden, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, you got to understand that in football, shizen happens, and with that, you're going to have possibly some down years. You're going to have some injuries. But if you have a school and administration that supports you high water or low water, that's a winning combination. Because a guy like Dave, he's going to weather the storm, and he's not going to let it get to him. He's got to understand that, hey, we just got to work harder. We got to be better. We got to be better prepared, and let's go do it. Because he's one of those guys. It's about preparation. It's about winning games right now in the weight room. It's about how we set up our defense based on our personnel. See, that's what he's really great at. Is he looks at his personnel and says, okay, what can we and cannot do? And even in the second half when they came out and they were just pounding the ball, pounding the rock, he kind of said it at halftime. He says, hey, we got to run the ball more. And so he's right there, man. You guys are very blessed.
If you don't mind, Jim, what does it mean to the Redlands as well that he's had this kind of success? And as far as his hometown, we've read some of the stories about him, but what does it mean that he's had this kind of success to the school?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, you got a lot of Baylor fans out here in Redlands now. You know what I'm saying? But, having one of our favorite sons do what he's doing, and showing the humility and the strength of character that he has is such a proud point for our community. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just really incredible, how far it came, from him all of a sudden, coming maybe back and teaching Spanish and coaching JV and varsity football at Redlands High School to all of a sudden making $2 million a year at LSU, So, it shows you how close things happen. And I always believe this, and I know Dave believes this, because I've heard him say it, and he's heard me say it. Good things happen to good people.
Yep.
And good things happen to Dave Aranda because he's a good person.
Thank you so much, Coach. Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
I hope I didn't interrupt all those errands you were running. And no, seriously.
I got them all done, baby.
Good for you. I've read the stories about you, Coach Alnado, and others, and Dave Aranda. Thank you for putting them in words on the radio show as well. On this day, he signs an extension, officially announces the assigning of 2029. Jim Walker, former head coach at Redlands High School, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. When we come back, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, Doug Gottlieb on men's basketball, and his friend Nikki Collin and what she's done with the Lady Bears, Baylor women's basketball team as they've turned the corner. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marcos.com online. And they have all sorts of specials, and they move them around. They're like little coupons, images. For example, the pepperoni magnifico that we've really enjoyed when it's been delivered to our studio here at 101 Elm. $9.99. Enjoy a large. Use the code PEPMAG. Order online, pepperoni magnifico, or if you call for them to deliver, you go to pick them up. Bring that up to them as well. $3 off large specialty pizzas. Order that right now. Unlimited medium, one topping pizzas, $7.99 each. And also unlimited two topping, large two topping pizzas for just $8.99 each. Download the app, get 25% off your very first menu price order. Marcos with 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, Woodway, China Spring, and Robinson, the newest location. Bob Mock, the owner, at Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at Marcos.com to make any moment better. Marcos. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman, with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% with $5,000 down, cash or trade. TTN Electra, see deal for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead.
In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome to Off the Radar. Taking a look at some stories that are, well, off of our normal radar. Doesn't mean we won't still talk college football from time to time, but just not going to, focus too much on Baylor matters or Big 12 matters that are already amongst our talking points. So a few things that are just kind of off the reservation a little bit. For one, Super Bowl ratings have been released, and it was safe to say a massive success for the NFL as we had a pretty good game for one. That certainly helped matters. And two, one, big market team playing in their home stadium. Cincinnati, not as much of a big market, but still 101.1 million people watched the Rams win the Super Bowl over the Bengals this past Sunday on both NBC and Telemundo. That's up from 2021 numbers, and that is a bit higher, as if you look back at last year's, they had 92 million, which is still a lot of dang people, but that was also the lowest number since 2006. So for the whole, we're not going to watch any more crowd, they last year had a talking point. They're like, hey, see, the ratings are down. It's the lowest since 2006. Well, fast forward a year later, and that is not so much the case. 101.1 million people. Nielsen also said that another 11.2 million people streamed the game, so you could actually put the total at 112.3 million people. Nielsen says 99.2 million were watching on NBC, another 1.9 on Telemundo, but well over 100 million viewers for the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I just thought that, you had the newness, and sometimes you hear about market size. Cincinnati's not a large market. Can't wait for their football team and all the other things they do in athletics to be a part of the Big 12. But that's not a massive New York or whatever. And for them to be able to be a part of it, it's just a game that had a lot of interest. Joe Burrow, human interest story. Obviously, the Rams in L.A. And it was a great playoff run. And then on top of that, the Super Bowl halftime performance brought eyeballs as well, and a bunch of them.
Yep, so the Bengals are going to be losing at least one coach off their staff. Al Golden has been announced as Notre Dame's new defensive coordinator, agreeing to a 3-year deal. College football fans are very familiar with the name Al Golden. And he's joining Marcus Freeman's first-year staff, so he's got a little bit of a veteran presence that he now adds as well. Golden was a head coach in college from 2006 to 2015. He was 59-59 at Temple in Miami, but obviously he's not the head coach coming in to Notre Dame. He will be the defensive coordinator, been with the NFL the last 6 years, both the Lions and then this run with the Bengals. And he had been talking apparently about, or at least showing interest in coming back to the college game. So he's back, and he's Notre Dame's new defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's a hell of a coach. Remember, he's the one that was at Temple, went to Miami. It didn't work out there, who Matt Rhule replaced at Temple.
Yeah.
And he's been around.
Matt Rhule took the single digits idea from
Al Golden.
Yeah. I remember him saying that early on, that it was an idea that he borrowed from Al Golden that they did at Temple, and he just kept on with it and carried it over, and it became a big deal at Baylor. And I think, like UTSA, copied it. with Jeff Traylor. I think Tech's probably going to copy it in some fashion with McGuire. So, yeah. Antonio Brown. I really don't even like talking about this guy so much, but it's just amazing what people will pay for. So when he had his big, temper tantrum during the middle of a game at MetLife Stadium as the Buccaneers were taking on the Jets, and that was – where were we coming back from? I think we were coming back from New Orleans, actually. Yeah, because my sister picked me up, and I had seen all that Antonio Brown stuff on my phone while we were waiting for forever to get back home. And she was talking about it, and then I finally got to their place and got to watch a little bit of it. And that was a crazy day and a crazy moment. Well, one of the gloves that he wore in the sideline meltdown went to auction, and it sold for $16,900.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, the guy throws a fit. He is a prima donna. No matter what else is going on with him, and a glove thrown into the stands. I don't even now. If Tom Brady threw his last ever glove that he just won a Super Bowl and walked off, that would be interesting. But Antonio Brown, people will buy anything. And he'll probably sell that for $30,000 before it's all said and done.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he'll probably turn it around. And I mean, it's a cool memento from just a very random, weird moment in the NFL in 2021. But Antonio Brown is probably going to be a guy that people remember for a while. And however his career turns up, maybe that becomes an even more unique item. But yeah, somebody actually spent nearly $17,000. So I'd imagine they're pretty well off to even consider that in the first place for a glove that will just, I don't know, sit in a safety deposit box or tacked on the wall or whatever. But, that's what that fetched on an online auction. So, Major League Baseball, no changes in terms of the season not getting started on time. Pitchers and catchers should have already been reporting, and that's not the case as MLB just kind of shuffles along into whatever this season is going to look like. But you probably remember the story from a couple years back. Tyler Skaggs, the Angels pitcher that passed away, he was actually getting ready to play the Texas Rangers, was found dead in his hotel room. Turned out to be a drug overdose. Well, right now there's a trial going on, and they're trying to sort out, what all actually happened, and it's the Angels' involvement in it and the communications person and who all was going on. So the guy that's in the bullseye right now,
the crosshairs.
Yeah, the crosshairs, thank you, is Eric Kay. He is the former team communications official. It's all related to the Tyler Skaggs death. And so Matt Harvey and C.J. Cron, two players, took the stands, and they discussed not only Skaggs' drug use, but their own drug use as well. And it was just kind of interesting to hear their testimony and hear just kind of what was going on behind the scenes. Kay is on trial in federal court on charges that he gave Skaggs pills that were laced with fentanyl that eventually led to his death, and also accused of possessing fentanyl and oxycodone with intent to distribute. And I know there's a lot of extracurriculars that go on when you're like younger years and all of that, in college years, even post that or whatever, but there is no chance in hell, for as experimental or as fun as I might have been at one point in time, that I'm taking anything not prescribed these days with the fentanyl crisis going on. I'm just absolutely positively would never even cross my mind. Not that it would to begin with, but especially not in this day and age. But that came into play for Tyler Skaggs in his death, took a pill that was laced with fentanyl. So the trial's in its second week, and the MLB players that are involved are starting to talk. Harvey was subpoenaed as part of the defense team, and the goal there was to try and convince the jury that Skaggs had gotten the opioids from more than one person, because, of course, they're defending this one guy in the Angels clubhouse. Harvey pitched for the Angels starting in 2019 and said that he obtained Percocet in 2019, started using it in mid-April, said he shared some of those pills with Skaggs, according to Yahoo and reporters in the courtroom. Harvey said he shared Percocets with Skaggs. He had asked me if I had anything, and I think I said I had either Percocet or Oxy at the time. He said that he would exchange pills with Skaggs in the clubhouse. Harvey said he received Percocets from a hockey player that was unnamed. Also said he received pills from this Angels employee and another source in Santa Monica. Said that he gave pills to Skaggs to be a good teammate. And he described a culture in which MLB players were just desperate to stay on the field and play through injuries. Harvey also talked about using cocaine at parties and said he was still using coke when he went to Cali, saying that teams did not ask him about his drug use. Said no one from teams ever asked if he was still using drugs. He said that he used Percocets in the clubhouse and the dugout, and that at one point Tyler Skaggs had told him that he had crushed and snorted Oxycontin, or oxycodone maybe. If it was Oxycontin, that's probably not. Oxycodone, on the toilet paper dispenser in the clubhouse bathroom. So that's what Skaggs told him at one point in time. Harvey said Skaggs also asked him for a Percocet before a 2019 road trip because he wanted to be, quote, loosey-goosey before one of his starts. And,
I got to stop you for a second.
Yeah.
The oxycodone is what, like you've had dental work or shoulder surgery.
Well, there's oxycodone and Oxycontin.
I'm hydrocodone.
Yeah,
I've
hydrocodone,
had that,
yeah.
And I got off it as fast as I possibly could when I had my rotator cuff surgery. It gets you high. It sucks everything out of your body. It bloats you up, and I can't imagine trying to perform on that, even if it was trying to mask pain. I just don't know how you could be successful.
Yeah, I don't know. Some guys just, you hear stories about old pro wrestlers, and they used to pop like 40 pills a day and pain relaxers at that, or muscle relaxers, and I don't know how, like somas and stuff, and I don't know how, a lot of those guys did die. They ultimately did die from like enlarged hearts and whatnot, but here was a very eerie part of this as this trial continues on. I just found it sort of interesting to hear this, what was really going on. It's even worse than you probably imagined it was. If he's doing lines in the clubhouse bathroom because he wants to feel loosey-goosey, maybe that's not a shocker to most people, but that is kind of surprising to me even still. So the day before Skaggs died, listen to this. Harvey said that he asked Kay, the Angels employee who's on trial, for an oxycodone. He had been told he wasn't going to be going on the road trip, so I guess he just thought, hey, I'll chill out and relax. So Harvey said that Kay left the pill in his locker. He didn't take it that particular day. And then the next day, he heard about the death of Tyler Skaggs, and he threw the pill out.
Wow.
I don't know if it would have, been the same or what, but it's something you just kind of think about and go, wow, that's wild. How many times in your entire time with the Angels did you see Mr. K hand Tyler Skaggs pills? If at all, maybe once, but maybe not at all. So we'll see where this goes. But the Tyler Skaggs, trial stemming from his passing continues on.
There's only one current player who is still a part of Cron, is a part of the Rockies roster, and you wonder about the repercussions and consequences he'll have.
He said he did get pills from Kay. He said he absolutely did get pills, and he said he made a bad decision. He got pills from Kay maybe 8 times. Also got some from Kay after he left the Angels. He said that he'd put them in his locker or in his shoe. And there was a whole bunch of stuff like that. They'd call like certain pills, like one text said, I need a big game blue, and that was referring to, a pill. And they said, oh, no, it's just a joke. So, there's all sorts of stuff like that in this testimony. But it's very interesting to hear a couple of players chiming in on what was a very, very sad story with the passing of Tyler Skaggs. The Beijing Olympic medal count right now, let's go Norway, baby. USA's in third place, 17 overall medals, 3 behind the Russian Olympic Committee. But Norway, with 26 overall medals, they're in first place right now. 12 gold, 7 silver, 7 bronze. ROC, the Russian Olympic Committee, second with 20 overall medals. U.S., 7 gold, 6 silver, 4 bronze. They have 17. Same number as Canada, so tied with Canada for the third most medals overall. And that leads me to the Russian figure skating story. And, you remember this one from a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I mentioned that a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, well,
she competed today.
Russia's a bunch of liars. I don't have any bones about saying that. And I'm not saying America's squeaky clean by any means, but from one article that I read, this is now 6 Olympic Games in a row that Russia's had some sort of a drug testing issue. That's just a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Just 6 Olympic Games in a row where their athletes happen to be
picked out of a crowd.
Just, And her story in particular, it's just not making a whole lot of sense to me because...
15-year-old?
Yeah, this 15-year-old, Valieva, she was popped for testing positive for a banned drug. And there's a whole big to-do about her being, she's like the odds-on favorite to win her events and all that.
She's in first place after a short program.
She was going to win gold, but then they had the drug test pop. So that's what happened was she was going to crush it and win gold and be on her way and all of that. But then that drug test came out and that put a delay on everything. So Kamila Valieva is her name. She's with the Russian Olympic Committee. She tested positive for a banned substance. The international body ruled Monday. There's not going to be a medal ceremony if she finishes in the top 3, and I think you ran all this down. And right now, the U.S. is kind of involved in where they would fit on the podium, so they're kind of waiting to see what the end result's going to be. But the basic thing is this, and this is where it's just all BS. The presence of trimetazidine. The presence of trimetazidine in Valieva's system may have been a mistake, and she's saying it was, and or her handlers are at least telling her that's what she's supposed to say. Whoever's saying it, that's what they're saying. Grandpa's medication got mixed up is their excuse. But the discovery of several substances in the sample of an elite athlete, especially one as young as Valieva, was highly unusual. And according to the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency's chief executive, Travis Tygart, listen to this. So it's just grandpa's medicine or whatever, right? Just accidentally grab that, because that happens all the time. I've accidentally grabbed your medication all the time, right? No,
Never.
That never happened when we were in the same house. Never happened one single time. He says it's a trifecta of substances, 2 of which are allowed and 1 that is not allowed, because she had a mixture of substances. He also added, when told of the discovery, so it's like, it's a medicine. It's just like stuff for colds and whatever their excuses are. He added the benefits of such a combination could be aimed at increasing endurance, reducing fatigue, and promoting greater efficiency in using oxygen. So I'm sure it was just a total coincidence that this particular combination of drugs that she just accidentally took, and part of it was like grandpa's medication, but that just so happens to have incredible side effects for world-class athletes. I'm sure that is a total coincidence, and Russia's totally on the up and up with this story.
This is just she's being picked on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What a victim. So that was just something that I found of interest. It's exactly what we thought it was the entire time. Russia's cheating again, so nothing new there. Kari Coleman, TCU defensive end, has entered the transfer portal. Sophomore defensive end, played in 9 games last year, had 19 tackles and 1.5 sacks. I remember him during the recruiting process. So, yeah, Kari Coleman, defensive end at TCU, is now in the transfer portal. And I do wonder how much Texas may look that way, although I think they're pretty okay on the defensive line at this point. But, with the Gary Patterson connection, you just wonder what kind of an exodus there might be, especially if you're looking for defensive players. And I'll leave you with this final note. Joe Burrow will not need surgery for the injury suffered in the Super Bowl. Just a knee sprain for Joey B. Ian Rappaport reported earlier today, won't require surgery based on initial tests. He'll have to rehab, but the sprain shouldn't drastically alter his offseason. So, man, you think about 2020 towards ACL and his MCL, and you had issues like that before. You really got worried, but no big issue, it looks like, for Joe Burrow, which is fantastic news.
And the way he's twisted, it looked like it could be.
Yeah, it looked like it could have been really bad. So those are a few things off the radar.
Thank you very much. Also, this note from Texas basketball, Trey Mitchell, who was really good in their win against Kansas, has taken a personal leave of absence as they're on their way to Oklahoma. In fact, they're at Oklahoma. They play them tonight. The 6'9" forward is currently with his family, has not violated any team or university rules or laws. His absence is not also related to COVID protocols. He's going right now through a personal matter. We support him, Chris Beard said, completely.
Good luck to him.
Yep. When we come back, Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports Radio, on men's basketball, on Kansas, Baylor, and Tech at the top of the Big 12, and more. Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
This is your 54th District Judge, Susan Kelly. Appointed to the court by Governor Greg Abbott, I've worked hard to manage and move the docket, even during COVID. Board certified in criminal law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization and past president of the Waco Bar Association, you can be sure I apply the rule of law and deliver justice for all. Early voting starts February 14th, so be my Valentine and vote for justice. Keep Judge Kelly.
Political ad paid for by Susan Kelly from McClain County Judge Campaign.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Great defense by Brown. Those two kids have been playing really mature.
Flagler fades away. He's got another.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Hope to hear from Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports Radio, here momentarily. And his thoughts. Remember, he was one that knew Nikki Collins. I think they dated. And when she was hired, he contacted me. He goes, I want to tell you a little bit about her, and then how much she would be perfect for the fit to kind of take over for obviously a legacy, a Hall of Famer, Naismith Award Hall of Famer. And it's been touch and go at times, but Nikki just kept her head down, and now Baylor's won, I think, 9 of their last 10. And obviously in position, although they need some help, and they can create some of that help themselves to possibly win yet another Big 12 title, which is what the standard is. And after the 0-2, ditch they started off with losses to Kansas State, who they then beat by 50. So that was a disastrous loss. The one that really is going to come back to bite them, though, the game at Oklahoma, that was too, but it's the game at home against Oklahoma when they had the lead with a minute or two to go, and they played sloppy, and they played terrible defense, and they lost, and now they lose the tiebreaker. But Iowa State leads it by a game in the Big 12 women's standings in basketball. Tonight, Texas at Oklahoma, and we mentioned Trey Mitchell will not be available, not making the trip for Texas, and Iowa State plays at TCU. And then also tomorrow night, Baylor and Texas Tech after Kansas and Kansas State both won last night. Now, let me see here. So to kind of summarize a couple of the stories we've covered today and the ones that we've been discussing, Dave Aranda signs a contract extension through 2029. And Baylor being a private school, they don't have to release the details. How much a year? I would be stunned if it's not $5-6 million or more. I mean, I think so. And I could be way off, but I would think that's kind of Luke Fickell's getting $5 million, and also
I think Dave Aranda's getting probably 6 or 7, if not close to $8 million a year.
I think he could pretty much name his number. And I mentioned this to the audience maybe a few weeks ago, that what Baylor was also doing, along with trying to get this done, was get donors involved to take care of things like bonuses, perks, etc., where the other money can go straight to whoever else is on staff. Not that Dave Aranda's not getting his millions, but he has earned it with what he did as a defensive coordinator, highest paid coordinator in America, and then what he did with Baylor in year 2. So I would be surprised, 5, 6, 7, $6 million, whatever it might be. And then, of course, well, what's the buyout figure? I get why that is a question, but you're going to drive yourself crazy every day worrying about whether or not another team is going to pluck him up, even if he's under contract for 2029. And here's what Craig said earlier. You don't think that buyout just went up? Hell yeah, it did. It absolutely did. And you're now talking about a contract that has 7-8 years left on it. And yes, I know those can be broken. Did you hear what Jim Walker said about Dave Aranda, his former high school coach? Everyone was asking him, where's he going to go? Where's he going to go? You're going to leave Baylor. And he said no. And he didn't. And he's still with Baylor. So for those that want to say, yeah, but how about then no matter if he signs a contract extension or not, it will never satisfy.
Some people are never happy, and they need to be told the end of the story before they read the book, and that's not typically how it should work. So they're just going to have to wait a few chapters to see if they're right in the end. But if you're going to sit there waiting for bated breath for every single offseason, I mean, I guess that's probably what they're going to have to do, because every year there's going to be jobs that open up people get nervous about. But until Dave Aranda gives some kind of an indication that he could be looking that direction, I am not worried about it, and I'm going to enjoy every moment that he's the head coach here, because it was a blast to cover his team last year, not just because they won, that certainly helped, but just because of the way it was done. So, yeah, he's going to be around. He's going to be the head coach next season. How about just be happy about that? Because there's a lot of people that were worried about even that being the case, whether or not he's going to be the coach next season. So we know that he will be, and we know that he will be most likely beyond that. And if you're Baylor, that's all you can do.
That's right.
That's all you can do. For anybody who wants definitive, permanent marker, there's nothing that exists to make that happen. There is no function in college football where you can force that man to sign a contract that he can never break. So you're basically getting down in the mud or turning a positive into a negative over something that's not even feasible to happen, that can't happen. So just enjoy it. Enjoy that it's no longer a question of when it's been signed. And if you want to worry yourself to death about when it might be an issue again, then, I mean, go for it, I guess. But my God, at least take some time between now and then to enjoy the fact that he's around here. Or else you're going to look up and one day he does leave and you realize you spent the entire 3, 6, 9, whatever amount of years it is, worrying the whole damn time and not enjoying any of it. I mean, that's just me, though. But, I mean, why worry about it on the day where his contract extension's announced? That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, no, it is something that it's like in the end of October, early November, when I mentioned that Dave Aranda and Mack Rhodes had pretty much agreed to terms. Yeah, but is it signed? Now it's signed.
I could at least understand during the coaching care. I know where you were coming from, but when all of a sudden Michigan might open up and you're like, okay, at some point there's going to be a job that he's at least interested in, and we don't know what even the discussions were behind the scenes when all these other jobs were opening up and how much interest or lack thereof there might have been. You're right. I mean, people could have calmed down then, but I understand at least to want something official. So now you got it, and then the first thing you're going to do is turn around and be like, but it doesn't mean anything. Well, then what the hell have we been talking about the entire time? You know what I mean? Enjoy it. The guy
there will still be some that will.
Well, and we probably spend way too much time on those two people.
Here's why more than that, I read the boards when my name's on a certain thread. Here's the deal. I never had any doubt based on who my sources were. And I can't reveal them because I can't and I won't. But because of who they were, that's why I never had any doubt whatsoever, no matter what other jobs opened up, even if they were the biggest of the alpha dogs. I just knew things were good. And now finally, a couple months, 2-3 months later, it has now been announced officially by Baylor. All right, Armstrong, we're going to have to move on because I want to get John McClain on. There is no top 5 with Paul today. He's out today. Hopefully be back tomorrow. Kind of had a little bit of a stomach virus or something going on this morning, so hopefully he'll be okay. And I want to get John McClain on. And we get John on now, and then Doug can be available in 40 minutes, 30 minutes or so. We'll try to do that. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Brad Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, it is 5:32. John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, Houston Chronicle, will join us here momentarily. He, of course, a major part of he himself a Hall of Famer, but also is on the committee when they discuss and eventually vote on the Pro Football Hall of Fame class, which they inducted or will induct this summer. Some new names, a couple that were left off, a couple that got in. We'll ask John McClain about that here sometime very soon. He'll join us from the Houston Chronicle. This is when you have a couple of guests back-to-back and one of them's not answering, you wonder why. John McClain will join us. And his just overall thoughts on the Super Bowl, what the Rams have done, and also what the Bengals have. And also, as he was talking with us last week, the Lovie Smith news, of course, was about to pop. And Hall of Famer John McClain, Houston Chronicle, Baylor grad, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I'd like to go backwards if it's okay. John, your thoughts, first of all. Rams win it. I thought it was a very entertaining game. Your thoughts just about the game itself.
I felt bad for the Bengals. I covered their first 2 Super Bowl losses to the 49ers. They've now lost 3 by an average of 4 points a game. I didn't feel bad for like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and their young players. I felt bad for the Brown family that founded the franchise and their older fans. They'll have a chance to compete for Super Bowls in the future, but boy, you can never count on it. It's rare for a Super Bowl loser to get there the next year, and it's rare now for a Super Bowl winner to win 2 in a row. That hasn't been done since the Patriots after the 2003 and 2004 seasons.
John, in terms of the chess match and just the way that the game played out, what stood out to you about the way the Rams were able to win that game?
Their drive at the end of the game reminded me of when John Taylor caught the winning touchdown pass from Joe Montana after the 88 season beat the Bengals. And it was the same thing. Clutch play by the quarterback. Nobody's ever going to compare Matthew Stafford to Joe Montana, one of the top 3 quarterbacks in history as far as I'm concerned, but it was a great drive by Stafford, who was a class act at Detroit, never complained about playing with a terrible franchise or being 0-3 in the playoffs. So I was happy for him. Sean McVay, the guy that orchestrated the trades, general manager Les Snead, they went all in, not just this season, but with Jalen Ramsey giving up 2 ones for him. People forget Cam Akers blew out his Achilles in training camp. They thought he was done for the year. They traded for running back Sony Michel, who led them in rushing. So every move that Les Snead made paid off one way or another.
And they went for it, and a lot of times you've seen teams do that before. Never ensures that it's going to work out. Do other teams then take note? I mean, the Bengals were on the cusp of doing it the old-fashioned way. They drafted 2 great young offensive stars. But does that maybe make a few people get a little bit more edgy about how they try to go for it when the opportunity arises with big-time trades?
Well, the Buccaneers did it the year before and won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there you go.
Once they signed Brady, he wanted Gronk, he wanted Antonio Brown. They made some other moves, and they won. I think a lot of it has to do with your quarterback. Stafford's 33. Now, next year he'll be 34. Maybe they'll trade their number 1 pick in 2024 next time they have one, in 2025 to try to get more players, because they're going to lose Beckham. They're going to lose Von Miller. They got some cap issues, but they still, as long as you got Stafford, as long as you got that quarterback in place, you got a chance. And I don't see them building through the draft, because they can't. The picks they have to be very judicious. But right now, the odds makers have them at number 3 favorite behind Kansas City and Buffalo to win the next Super Bowl in Arizona.
John, Sean McVay turned 36 just a couple of weeks before the Super Bowl, and since the game ended, there's been talk, and there's even some beforehand about, whether or not he might step away, and then they win, and there's been those questions, and he's just been kind of like, we'll see in regards to that, but just your thoughts. I mean, do you think that there's a solid chance that he could walk away at 36 years old and do something else in the game of football or outside of it, or I don't know, how do you view that?
Craig, I think he'll be in a game of football with a big new contract from the Rams.
Yeah.
Just like Aaron Rodgers was all about the money. Last year, Aaron Rodgers' agent went to Green Bay early in the offseason, tried to get an extension done. They didn't do it. As soon as he got back to California, it was leaked to Adam Schefter that Rodgers might retire, creating a firestorm throughout the offseason. Anytime there's a problem, 99% of the time, it's all about the Benjamins, including with Kyler Murray.
All right, John, a new class of the Hall of Fame has been announced. Who did you miss and who did you think got snubbed?
Well, I was hoping for Andre Johnson, the Texans receiver, first-year eligible. He made the cut from 15 to 10. I thought DeMarcus Ware was a lock, one of the greatest pass rushers in history. But the 49-member committee did not take any player who was in his first year of eligibility. Others, besides Ware and Johnson, were offensive tackle Willie Anderson and return specialist Devin Hester. And I feel strongly that Johnson will get in soon based on what was said about him and what people learned about him. And Devin Hester, the greatest return specialist in history, who had 13 returns for touchdowns. He, for a special teams player, he got a lot of positivity, and I think he'll get in eventually. The one that I was happiest for was offensive tackle Tony Baselli. The way I look at it, if you play, and I don't care if you play 5 years or 10 years, if you were as good as there's ever been, I think you should be in the Hall of Fame. And when he played for the Jaguars, he was as good as there's ever been, and the best is Hall of Fame left tackle Anthony Munoz.
John, what would you say the biggest debate in terms of maybe an individual player argument that arose with the committee? What would you say that would have been this time around?
Oh gosh, Craig, they timed it. There was one that was 27 minutes. I don't even remember who it was. It was one of the guys that got in. I can't remember. I was so tied up in Andre Johnson making that presentation, and I was last. So the whole time I'm thinking about, are guys staying awake? Do they want it to go by fast? It turned out to be a very healthy debate with a lot of people weighing in. There was no controversial selection. People look at it and say, oh, that was not a sexy class. Well, it never is if you don't have skill position players on there. And I was glad we took care of some guys who've been waiting for quite a while.
How much more unpacking do you feel like there is to do? I mean, in terms of trying to correct maybe snubs in the past or guys that have been waiting that long. I mean, because it seems like that's been, on y'all's radar for several years now, is trying to kind of, fix the past. So, I mean, how much of a logjam is there still, you feel like?
Well, I think there's a huge logjam, and next year I think you have two first-time locks, Joe Thomas, great offensive tackle from the Browns, and Darrelle Revis, great cornerback, primarily playing for the Jets. And then you got Ware and Andre Johnson. That would leave room for one more. And in this era in which we've been watching the NFL, where stats are gaudy and social media and so many games on TV, you can't hide people anymore. What I'm more concerned about are the seniors. There are 50 seniors who made their all-decade team who are not in the Hall of Fame. And we're trying to lobby the Hall of Fame executives to let us put in more than one every year, because there's so many who are deserving.
So how do you feel like the city of L.A., I saw the stadium. It seemed like it was packed like sardines. There was a concern about would they open up. I heard Radio Row was pretty good. We didn't go this year. because of different protocols and just kind of the time of it all, with us being now YouTube and so the access of what we needed. How do you feel like overall? Was it an incredible success?
Everybody said it was a great success. The weather was fabulous. People had a great time. It didn't seem like, I remember in Miami, the traffic was awful every day trying to get down to South Beach and the main hotels for interviews and the media headquarters, while all the media were stuffed in airport hotels and motels. And this time, because LA's so spread out, there was plenty of hotels. I didn't hear any complaints about logistics like I have the last two in Tampa and Miami. And Arizona is a great site. I've covered a lot in Arizona, not for game day, because game day it's great because the stadium is in suburban Glendale out I-10, and there's plenty of parking. Everything is perfect. It's during the week when you have great access in the Phoenix area. It's a tremendous place to host it, but by all accounts, everybody loves LA, and it's going to go back because the stadium was so fabulous. It looked so much bigger. They only had 70,000 there, and the stadium, to think they could put 30,000 more in AT&T Stadium if they wanted to, I just thought it was going to have a bigger capacity.
John, going back to the Hall of Fame, a Cowboy that continues to wait is Darren Woodson. Is he somebody that's a victim of the log jam, or is he somebody that maybe doesn't get in eventually?
I think Darren Woodson, we've been putting a lot of safeties in there in recent years, and he won 3 Super Bowls. And I think eventually he'll get in. Don't know if it'll be modern era or if it'll be when he's eligible as a senior, but I think he is definitely deserving of being a Hall of Fame. But man, there's so many who are definitely deserving.
John, Baylor with a win against Texas, a game back of Kansas, a road trip to Lubbock, and now they don't have Jonathan Chama-Chachua, and they have been dealing with injuries from day one. I know you were covering the Super Bowl, but your thoughts about the win against Texas and then moving forward?
I watched every minute of that game, and I felt terrible for Chama-Chachua, and I'm glad he's going to be back next year. I've never seen Scott Drew have to deal with so many injuries, and Cryer will come back at some point. I've gotten to the point where I'd like to see them be as healthy as they can possibly be going into the tournament.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time, John. Oh, you got something, Craig?
Pick them, guys. Pick them. I'm going to meet.
Hold on one second.
I'm going to meet Dave Aranda tomorrow night.
Oh, are you? Okay, good. Where's he at?
He and his 7 of his assistants are coming to Jackson Street Barbecue on the Greater Houston High School Football Coaches Association across from Minute Maid Park, and they invited me to come, so I will be there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you saw the contract news today, I'm assuming, John?
I did, and I was with a prominent LSU person, a big-time money guy, over the weekend, and he told me that there was a big alumni base that gives money that wanted Dave Aranda to be the next coach. But Scott Woodward, of course, wanted to make a splash, first with Jimbo and then with Brian Kelly. And I said, well, everybody in green and gold is so glad LSU did not make the move on Dave Aranda.
Yeah, and he just never blinked. Hey, thanks a lot, John. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Take them.
That's John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, Houston Chronicle. We'll see Dave Aranda and some of his staff in Houston tomorrow.
I was going to ask him about a thing I just saw from Larry Fitzgerald. He was talking about Cooper Kupp's season. It was a story I just happened to catch on I think it was NFL.com, and he was talking about how, in terms of comparing their seasons, because Fitzgerald had like the tremendous 08 year, and he's saying, well, he's got the hardware. He's got the hardware. He got the Super Bowl ring at the end. But I was going to ask John just about Cooper Kupp's season, and that's something that, along with a lot of other storylines from that game, we can get to at another time. So,
well, absolutely. In fact, write that down. We'll have him next week, and that's a great question. I thought that what Cooper Kupp did was not just what he did in the regular season where he earned Offensive Player of the Year. What he did in the postseason, validated it during the clutch and then the last drive, and it's just...
I actually saw somebody, he was playing so well at one point that I saw somebody on Twitter mention that. got upset because they claimed that people don't cover him because he's a white guy or something. Like, it was something ridiculous trying to justify these numbers. And it's like, well, maybe he's just damn good third-generation NFL talent, because I think that's pretty much what it is. And it's that alone. And yeah, he's insanely good, and obviously played a huge role on Sunday, as you would imagine in any type of Rams winning scenario he was going to, and he did.
After the game was over, Jennifer, I sent her a text. Did you not have Cooper Kupp on your fantasy football league team a couple of years ago? And I still think she's scarred by that.
It should be.
Because he was very iffy, very up and down.
Way better since he should thank her, actually, and maybe send her a Super Bowl ring. And thanks for finally not being on her fantasy team. I think that was what was bogging him down. But I do like that John just said it in passing, and so we didn't even have to address it. But the Kyler Murray stuff, it's like John's been saying that for years about the money thing. I never considered it with the actual coaches. So when he says that about McVay, I mean, I do think there's probably part of McVay that could be tempted by TV money, and how couldn't you be? I mean, far less stress, far easier schedule, and probably just as good, if not even more money. So that wouldn't shock me, but it also could very well just be like anytime you hear these out-of-nowhere beefs, it's contract and money related, and that's why you see Kyler Murray's taking all these Instagram photos off of his account that refer to the Cardinals, and he's posting these just sort of ominous, types of statements. And yeah, he's just looking for a new contract. It's basically what it boils down to.
And an agent could have done that as well. He did post something. I thought it was, he posted, I believe this is, let me see make sure of the date. Yeah, it was yesterday. I played this game for the love of it. My teammates, everyone who has helped me get to this position, that I believed in me and win championships. All of this nonsense is not what I'm about. Never has been, never will be. Anyone who has ever stepped between those lines with me knows how hard I go. Love me or hate me, but I'm going to continue to grow and get better. And then he did this. That's not hook 'em horns. What is that? The Hawaiian.
It's like I love you. Yeah.
See ya. So that was something he put out on Twitter on Valentine's Day.
Did he do this or did he do this?
No, it was both.
Oh,
it was.
Okay.
It was.
And he's super chill.
Yeah, no, it was this. Yeah.
All right.
That's from Kyler Murray. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap it up. No top 5 from Paul today. That's unique because we've been having one every day that I can remember. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Next time he's out, I want my top 5 wrestlers of all time. I'm doing that.
All right.
And with the actual graphics, and I will do that just to have some fun and do a top 5 when he's not around.
All right, well, 549, we'll do that next time he's out. Hopefully he won't be out for a while, but Paul should be back tomorrow, just a little bit under the weather with his stomach. Sikkim 365 Radio.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McClain County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics, wants to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, a couple of things to wrap things up. Back at again tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Read a couple of chat notes, too. Saw this on Twitter. Carlos Silva from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal and those who cover Texas Tech. Mark Adams updating Kevin McCullough. Remember, he was hurt in their game. Looked like he hurt his ankle. Game time decision. Extremely tricky. Injuries, of course, ankles are to rehab. He said the good news is that they're throwing out like 2 weeks or something. It means they aren't really concerned about making the injury worse, but are trying to manage McCullough's pain when he runs on it. And so, again,
sounds like LJ Cryer.
Yeah, it does. Exactly right. And again, ankle injuries can be, Cryer's a foot, and then McCullough is an ankle, and he's playing well. He's kind of like their dog, and they have a bunch of players, but that would be unfortunate. Hopefully he's not going to be out. I know if you're Baylor, you say, well, that he's really good. They got plenty, just like Baylor has plenty, although losing Jonathan Chama, not a good deal at all. All right, we've got a couple of people in the chat room that said, the top 5 wrestlers of all time. And now Gregory, Harley Race, Bret Hart, HBK, Bobby Eaton, and Ric Flair.
Well, you got taste if you got Bobby Eaton in your top 5. Like, that's real wrestling taste right there. And Bret Hart, that's my dude. Yeah. That's my guy.
Stone Cold, The Rock, Piper, Ric Flair, and Sting.
That's a pretty good top 5. Sting's still at it in AEW. Doesn't wrestle
very... Is he the one with the white face that looks like a musician?
Like the Crow, yeah. But he pops up from time to time. But yeah, that's a very solid one as well. I was blown away by the Bobby Eaton mention though, because that's like you really got to appreciate to mention the late now Bobby Eaton, R.I.P.
From Mike as well, considering what wide receivers are allowed to do and what defenders are not allowed to do in today's Cam Cooper Cup season, no, he had something was more than just mad. But Mike, I get it. Listen, all the rules are to help the offense score points and move the football.
But if we're going to do that, then we need to go back and change some defensive statistics when they get just club guys in the head. You know what I mean? Like there's all sorts of rules changes that have occurred. So yeah, I mean, games are made for quarterbacks. So should we take the current quarterbacks and drop their numbers because Bradshaw didn't get the same opportunities? Right. You know what I'm saying? So like you could do that all day, but yeah, I mean, if you want to downplay a little bit, that's fine. But like that dude he's the real deal. He is the real deal.
He is amazing, and what a year, and nearing records, and just was phenomenal. I mean, when you get a wide receiver winning Offensive Player of the Year, it usually is a running back or a quarterback. Of course, Rodgers won the MVP. For Jack McKenzie, thanks, Jack. Also covered that media session with some of the Scott Drew audio. Back at it tomorrow at 3. We'll discuss Baylor and Texas Tech. Look back at the games in the Big 12 tonight. Also, Doug Gottlieb did text us back. His phone was on silent, so we'll get him on hopefully tomorrow as well.
So we got what, OU Texas tonight?
OU Texas is tonight.
Iowa State TCU on the men's side of things.
And
So
then
that'll
Baylor
be
Texas Tech, the lone game tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. I hate those 8 o'clock tips, but it's part of the deal with ESPN too. All right, thanks to Craig Smoak. Paul will be back hopefully tomorrow. Thank you to those on the chat room, the phone calls, the text line, and our incredible sponsors. I'm David Smoak. Have a great evening. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McClain County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.